We need music or something, man.
I don't think he heard you at all, Kramer.
No, I don't think so.
Can you hear us talking in the Twitch stream?
I don't know. It's on a totally different. It's on a totally different computer with a totally different headset. I'm just here to tell you whether or not our beautiful faces show up.
All right. Well, here comes the opening. Let's see if it works.
Well, something just happened. Yeah. I would assume that it's
whenever
working.
you're listening to this. Welcome to the internet's most sophisticated wrestling podcast, discussing the weekly aspects of it all, right here on
The Bald
Monkeys Wrestling Podcast.
I hope everyone can hear us talking over this intro because that's important.
Well, again, I might be the only person. Were you actually watching Slammiversary?
Look,
I was keeping up with it on my phone. My
We're
wife
Live.
hadn't seen each other in a long time, so we went to her house last night for dinner, and
That's
we ended up being there until like 1:30 in the morning.
That's unacceptable. Hey, we're live on Twitch. Hello, Twitch.
Hello, Twitch.
Good to see you.
Got a few twitches.
Yes.
Pick up the days.
Slammiversary last night was, it was solid.
Very good show. Really
was.
good show.
That opening match between the Motor City Machine Guns and the Rascals was top notch.
I screamed like a little girl when they came out.
Yeah. Didn't expect them to be the one that came back.
He screams like a little girl, though, to be fair, at just about everything. In
Usually.
fact, he is a little girl. If he took his hat off, you'd be like, oh my gosh, it's a little girl.
Like a baby?
Yeah, like a baby.
Like a really bald little girl.
That's face is like a little bit dirty, like right here. So whether people are watching or not, and let me just go ahead and start this thing up because there's some things that I want people on YouTube to hear me say as well. So here we go.
Yeah, you might want to record.
Yeah. So welcome everybody to the Bald Monkeys Wrestling Podcast.
Oh, of course he shows up now.
Who is it?
Nicola.
Bring him in.
We're off to a great start.
Bring him in. So
See,
welcome everybody.
This is what Nick and I bring.
Bring the randomness all the time. So
I was just going to say brings it straight down.
What happened?
So welcome everybody to the Bald Monkeys Wrestling Podcast. I am driving the ship today. I am Big Baby Jimmy, and I have a couple complaints to make straight out the gate. Because some people, if you are a follower who has no idea who I am, then that means that you've joined in like the last month maybe, because I have been somewhere between a hiatus and then being on vacation for a little while. And it's weird because it's kind of like the Bald Monkeys Wrestling Podcast. This is what I want you to imagine. The Bald Monkeys Wrestling Podcast. Look at that guy. Look at him. Look at him in the New Jersey Devils. So this is what it is. The Bald Monkeys Wrestling Podcast is a house, right? And let's just say at that time, I was the owner of the house. I took care of the house, and the house was very clean. And I go to Chuckles and I go to Christopher and I say, here are the keys to the house. I'm going to be gone for a handful of weeks. I'll be back. I'll see you later. And then to my surprise, I come back into the house and it's not that it's not clean. It's just shit is everywhere.
We
It's
moved
all
all
over
the
place.
we moved all the
All the
furniture.
furniture. Everything's in different, what's going on with this podcast? All of a sudden, doing these videos where you can see our pretty faces, is, you know, it's become like the natural thing. We have intros, we have wrestlers that we're interviewing, we have people actually commenting. Like, we're really starting to gain motion. So instead of being that podcast that I was in control of, where we just kind of put our head in the sand and nobody ever bothered us, now I've got people that are starting to take crazy sides, like that a double stuffed Oreo could possibly be better than a single stuffed Oreo. This is crazy. This is craziness.
So is what you're trying to say that everything got better since you've been gone? And thank you? Because you're welcome.
What that guy said.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I don't want to admit that to you in front of anybody. So I will not admit that to you. I will just say, I will just say it's different. Things are different now. But that is not the reason we're here. And again, before we jump into the reason we're here, which will be very obvious if you watch a YouTube video of this, I want to just go down. So Monkeying Around is the new title for all of these roundtable podcasts. We won't always necessarily have all these gentlemen here doing it with me. Sometimes we'll have less. Sometimes we'll have more. Maybe, if you're lucky, we'll have the occasional wrestler join us. And, you know, but who knows? Who knows whether that's possible or not? We'll see.
Maybe.
So the format that I'm wanting to do with Monkeying Around is I'm trying to do an every other week type of format. So this week we're starting with retro content. We're talking about something that's happened in the past. We all have watched it and we're going to discuss it. Next week, it's likely to be focused more around current wrestling. And because it doesn't get enough love, I would love to show some love to Impact Wrestling and to a lesser degree. I know it's not going on right now, but if NWA was going on, we'd be talking about that. If Ring of Honor was going on, we'd be talking about that. Maybe some New Japan love. And we will talk about AEW and WWE if it is a important topic. And occasionally we will have really big pick shows because, you know, when you're a wrestling fan, you love picking. You love picking. And nobody's paying attention to Chris right now pointing at himself because he like won the Slammiversary pick contest because, you know, who cares about him? Nobody likes him. Not even his brother.
No, you know why? You know why? Because nobody cares about Impact, and they're wrong. They should care about Impact because that was one of the best pay-per-views this year.
Yeah, it was a hell of a
period.
But what's Impact? Because let's go all the way back to the mid-'80s. WrestleMania 1. Welcome. It is time for WrestleMania 1. Now, I'm going to do this in order from who I'm seeing on the screen in a certain direction here. I'm going to go Chris, Steven, and then Creamy K, and then Nicola. And I want you to give me 1 to 3 words to describe WrestleMania 1 now that it is 2020 and it has been a very long time. 1 to 3 words. So let's start with you, Christopher.
Low tech.
Steven, the boss.
Stiff.
Okay, yes. Good. Creamy K.
Low production.
Yes.
Nicola.
I didn't do my homework.
Oh, what? Wow. It's okay. I'm sure you'll remember some of these matches as we go over it. And really to like kind of I'm going to use one word and listen, in our current climate, sometimes we use words that also are memes. And this is kind of a meme word for me. Wonderful. WrestleMania 1 was wonderful. And I don't mean that it was super spectacular. I just mean that by the time I got to the end of it, I was like, that was wonderful. So first of all, let's set the scene. Let's go over like who we have like in the backstage, who we have behind the announce desk. We have what was the guy's name? Alfred Hayes.
Alfred
Alfred
Hayes.
Hayes.
Lord
Lord
Alfred Hayes.
Alfred Hayes. And
That's
we've
right.
got him as like basically our tweener guy. Like we could just go to the back to Mean Gene Okerlund, but no, we must talk to Lord Alfred Hayes first. What do we think of Lord Alfred Hayes? Anybody?
I thought it was interesting where they put him because he was quite literally in the way of all of the wrestlers coming back and forth from the back to the ring, and it was one of them actually walked into him and cut him off, and was like, "Get out of my way!" I thought that was interesting. Like you could not have picked a better placement.
Yeah, there was one that almost like walked in front of him and then stopped and then walked around the back of him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it just me, or did he look like afraid? Like extremely afraid. Like he was in like a firing squad was aiming at him the whole time because he was just standing there. Hello, I am Lord Alfred Hayes, and we are here to introduce WrestleMania 1.
He did not look comfortable at all.
Like I could imagine Vince in his ear the whole time. Don't screw this up. Don't screw this up. You're screwing this up. You're not doing a good job. This is terrible. What are we doing here? Like he was like, I don't know what to do. I'm sorry. Like, he just was worried the whole time.
Do you think back then Vince was even pushing like in people's ear all the time? I feel like that's something that's come over years after trying to get more and more and more power. I feel like there was more trust back then to just let kind of people do what they did. And I'm sure that if you watch a lot of things, you'll notice that he took it away because some of the people didn't deserve the power.
I'd have to do research and find out, but I'd be curious to see if he was still maybe in people's ear, or if anybody was in people's ears, because it didn't look like he was comfortable with what he was doing.
I have to think it. So correct me if I'm wrong. If I remember the story correctly, is that Vince took out a second mortgage on his home to produce WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Is that what? That's what it was.
So
if that's true, then I have to imagine with the amount that was at stake on that he had to have been in people's ear. I would imagine if he had that level of money invested in this, that he was running the entire show.
But did they have that kind of technology back then for the rate that they could have afforded?
Maybe not. It's interesting because you say, do they have the technology? I would say probably yes. They probably did have the technology.
Yeah, like the affordable for it.
Was it affordable technology for them? Maybe not. And then, gosh, I mean, you want to talk about somebody that was like way far gone from WrestleMania 1 because they're so damn young. We got Nakamura here. Although I guess Steven's pretty young too.
Yeah.
I'll put that behind you.
Go ahead, Steven. I have
That's
nothing to offer. I didn't do my homework. I'm a bad student.
Oh.
Okay, so then we have our two main announcers, all right? And our two main announcers for the entire program are Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse the Body Ventura, which I don't know about you guys, but every single time I hear Jesse the Body Ventura doing commentary, it's just a good thing. I actually really like him as a commentator.
I do too. I miss hearing them two together.
But there are two stars of the show. And again, we're still dealing with like backstage presences or front stage presences. And that is that every match that is announced by Fink, and that every interview that's done in the back is done by Mean Gene Okerlund. And let me tell you that Mean Gene Okerlund, for me, stole the show for WrestleMania. And it was, well, actually, I won't worry about that. We'll get to it as we move down the card. I don't want to jump. But what do you guys think? As a whole, what do you think of the whole crew that we have set up for WrestleMania 1?
It was a solid crew, especially for what they had. Some of them they carried their value for many years. Some of them did. That's the crew itself. But it's always the first one. The first one can always be better compared to today's, what they had. But I enjoyed it.
Anybody
For
else?
me, For me, you're talking about four of the people that I grew up with watching wrestling. So I had, Gorilla, Jesse the Body, Howard Finkel, and then me and Gene. That was my Saturday and Sunday watching all wrestling superstars and then wrestling challenge or vice versa. I don't remember what I have, but that's what I grew up on. So nostalgia alone, perfect.
Yeah. Gorilla Monsoon is one of the best announcers of all time that doesn't get as much credit as he probably should. He gets credit for being Gorilla Monsoon, but I don't know that he got credit for how much charisma he had on the mic. I mean, he got better when Bobby the Brain Heenan teamed up with him, and they became the best tandem in announcing, period. But this was the beginning of Gorilla Monsoon, and Ventura was great. He was always the great heel announcer. The only person that was better than him was the Brain. But Ventura was really good about getting the heels over in every single match. And I think that was important about WrestleMania 1 because did you guys, as you were watching, the heels didn't stand out looking back now. They probably were heels, back then, but looking back now, it's like, oh, that guy was a heel in that match, and we'll get to that. But that guy was a heel in that match, and Ventura, announcing and helping with that, and the backstage interviews helped with that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Ventura was overly pushing the heels, but there were definitely points where it was like, well, this sounds a little weird. Like, yeah, he's definitely pushing the heel at this point, especially when we get towards the end of the end of WrestleMania. But that's been the kind of announcing setup that they've done for a long time. You either have the straight or good guy announcer, and then you have the guy who's always, pro heel, that's always pushing the bad guy. And, does that work? I mean, it obviously worked back then. Does it still work today, Nick?
I think it helps for someone who may have been born like 8 years after this event took place. So when they go back and look upon it, sometimes someone with low common sense may need an announcer to be like, hey, if you don't know the story, if you're not watching weekly like Creamy Kramer, this is who you're supposed to be cheering for, and this is who you're supposed to be booing. So yes, I do think obvious, hey, this is the bad guy, that helps out for the average fan.
Yeah. Absolutely. So here we go. WrestleMania 1 has started. It is in, we'll have to stop and talk about this too. Where is it at, Chris? Where is WrestleMania 1 located? Is it your favorite venue of all time?
It's nothing special. It's just a wrestling mecca of the world, Madison Square Garden. The only place to go watch wrestling. The best place to go watch wrestling. That's all.
Yeah, I think the only thing that maybe at this point maybe compares to that's like the Tokyo Dome. But that's like 1A, 1B greatest venues of all time to watch wrestling.
Looking back at that one, you see how much Madison Square Garden played a part in WWE, WWF.
Early wrestling as a whole, not just WWE, just early wrestling. Madison Square Garden was tremendous for all of it.
Yeah.
Which is a travesty, right? Because the locations that they do WrestleMania at now, they hold how many thousands of people versus what Madison Square Garden can hold. And we've talked about this before. Why don't you take all those extra seats and just take all the money that those seats are worth and put that cost on top of the tickets to go to Madison Square Garden? Don't you think Madison Square Garden will still sell out? Just because it's Madison Square Garden. Yeah. You would, and you'd be going alone because WWE isn't on the. Yeah, they definitely still go there, and big things always happen when they go to Madison Square Garden. I mean, if there's going to be a house show in Madison Square Garden, something's going to be changing hands. Titles always seem to change when they go to Madison Square Garden. So here we are. We're in Madison Square Garden. We got tons of people. Jesse the Body Ventura says something about 1.7 million people all around the world watching WrestleMania tonight. And we start out with what? Tito Santana versus the Executioner. And may I say, I love wrestlers like the Executioner. Those are my favorite types of wrestlers in the business because they're so. Yeah, go ahead.
T for time. What about the national anthem, Jimmy?
Oh yeah.
You blew right by the national anthem.
By Mean Gene Okerlund himself. And may I say, I loved every second of it. It was wonderful. One of the best parts of WrestleMania.
I mean,
I don't know what you guys thought. I mean, his.
I'm sitting here.
Delivery of it was great.
I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh, cool, WrestleMania 1. All right, cool. Let's get to the national anthem. Oh, what celebrity did they get to sing that? I forget. Who sang the national anthem at WrestleMania 1? I'm waiting for somebody to come out who's famous. And Cyndi Lauper went through my head. Like, different names of people went through my head that I knew were at WrestleMania 1. And here comes Mean Gene into the ring, and I'm like, Mean Gene can sing? And Mean Gene got the crowd going. He got the crowd going. It was epic.
He was just like, he constantly was like, sing with me. Oh, sing. It was wonderful. But yeah. So
now you can
here we have Tito Santana versus the Executioner, and again, I love wrestlers like the Executioner. I love wrestlers, and the closest wrestler that harkens back to that type of wrestler that we have right now is Question Mark, and I just think they're the greatest thing ever. It's just like plain body person wearing mask. That's it. They've got some crazy name, the Destroyers, the Executioner, something like that, and that's about it. Are they compelling wrestlers? Was this a compelling match, boys?
No.
No.
Like, going into it, who's going to win this match?
The two things that I wrote down that stood out to me were how loose the ropes were. I don't know if you guys noticed that, like how crazy loose the ropes were.
Yeah.
Where it's like, holy cow, they're going to fall out of the ring. Like, these ropes are not tight enough. And just the figure four, getting to the figure four for Tito, like, that was it. Like, there really wasn't much else in the match where I was like, oh, cool, a decent match. And then I just spent some time trying to figure out who the Executioner was. And beyond that,
it doesn't matter who he is. It doesn't matter.
It's sad, though, because no one now at WrestleMania is. Tito is arguably one of the greatest from the 70s and 80s, and he didn't even have a decent name to go against to say, okay, I competed at WrestleMania 1 against who cares? Kind of, you know?
Which is weird, because I would say what you're going to see later on, like especially at the very end of the card, there are some pretty decent wrestlers that are just kind of standing around and doing nothing. And it's like, why didn't you involve some of these guys into these matches? But it is the first one, right? So I don't know. Creamy K, what do you have to say about Tito Santana versus the Executioner?
So I agreed with Chris. I think that the ropes were way too loose. And you'll see it later on when people were going up to the top rope to do a finisher. And
very awkward.
Very awkward, and it literally looked like that top turnbuckle was going to fall off. And I'm like, ooh, please don't do that. You're going to kill yourself. The other thing I thought was interesting is that I may have missed it, but I did not hear any entrance music. Definitely not for the Executioner, but it was there for Tito Santana.
No, sorry. In that first match, no entrance music.
First match, no. I wrote down when I first started hearing music, but that first match I didn't hear any, which I thought was interesting because I knew, obviously, people had some entrance music back then, but I guess maybe not everyone did. So I thought that was a little interesting. But the match overall, coming from that to where WrestleManias are now, you see a big difference in, you have that opening match with just this huge pop, gets the crowd going, and that one for me was just a very flat match to start WrestleMania 1.
But here's the X factor, and no better time than the first match to talk about it. This is the mid-1980s, and people still think that wrestling is like guys going in there and actually beating the crap out of each other.
Yeah.
Legitimately doing it. And because of this, you don't have to do crazy stuff if you think guys are actually just fighting each other. You know, you punch somebody in the face, that holds more weight than nowadays when they punch somebody in the face and it's just like, well, you know, they're eating the punch as they're taking the punch. And so I think that is an important X factor to remember in every single one of these matches in WrestleMania 1, because, you know, we're going to run into a couple speed bumps where it doesn't, as much as we say it's a boring wrestling match, and maybe one of the reasons for that is because there's very little actual wrestling, or what we consider to be wrestling.
There's wrestling, but it's like more Greco-Roman wrestling. It's not the spots that we're used to.
Right.
So not even what you would probably call old school wrestling. It's like what you would call old school wrestling. Like throw another old school on it, like way back.
Gym class wrestling.
Like this isn't the wrestling that like FTR dreamed about doing their entire life.
No. There was a suplex or two, but no.
Yes.
As someone who's currently reading the Spark Notes version of the first match, because I'm on Wikipedia, which is the ever reliable source for wrestling information, I do have two things to report as the Bald Monkeys amateur correspondent. One, Gene Okerlund did sing the national anthem, but Vince McMahon stated there was supposed to be a celebrity guest that refused, or that no-showed last minute, and Vince McMahon never named him, so they just went with Mean Gene Okerlund. And two, the only synopsis they have of the first match on the ever-reliable Wikipedia is Santana won the match after applying a figure 4 leg lock on the executioner. So even in the synopsis of that 5-minute match,
they were bored. They were bored by the whole thing. It was a four almost 5-minute match that was just one giant setup to a figure 4 leg lock.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. I didn't even need to watch. I could just read that off Wikipedia. So
You're all caught up.
I don't
Ric
realize that
Ric Flair's early matches too.
this takes me so back to high school where I didn't do the homework and we're having a class discussion. I just feel like such a moron. But there is one difference. I can't go grab a beer
If the
with
shoe
people right
fits.
now.
Go do that.
This is the one difference from high school. I can drink while doing this and maybe have more to offer to the conversation. So.
Okay.
Still be good.
You know, drunk Nick is, you know,
He's a fan favorite.
He's
Sometimes.
a fan favorite. Oh man. So let's move on to when I remember when I said the word wonderful as a meme, what might have been the most wonderful match of the entire night for me, which is King Kong Bundy versus Special Delivery Jones. Love that name. Love that name.
Love
This
the promo.
Was a match that when it was finished was billed at how long? Does anybody remember?
That's 9 fingers.
9 full seconds. Now, funny, because I watched the match and it ends, and then they say 9 seconds, and I'm like, wow, I must have been so into that match that time slowed down. Because it seemed like it was pushing 3 times longer than that. I'm like, well, let me go watch it again. Let's see if I get so much into that match again that time slows down. Because what we may have found here in WrestleMania 1 is an effective way to lengthen your life by 3 times. Like all you do, this is what you do. You take King Kong Bundy versus Special Delivery Jones, and you just play it on loop for the rest of your life. You just make sure it's always playing near you. And it's that whole match, bell to bell. And you think you're going to live to 100? Heck no. You're going to live to like 200 and something. Because it just slows. You just savor every moment. I'm, of course, joking. Bell to bell, this match was 24 seconds.
No, it was 9 seconds.
No, it was 24 seconds.
No, they said it was not. It's a record. It was 9 seconds.
So wait a second. So here's where I'm irritated at Vince.
What does Wikipedia say, Nick?
Just poking it.
Gotcha. Hold on. I'm already there. No, let's bring it up. It says the WWF's official time for the match was then a record of 9 seconds, but it was surpassed by The Rock defeating Eric Rowan at WrestleMania 32, although that match actually lasted 17 seconds. So, Wikipedia, folks.
Which is still faster than the 24-second match that they called 9 seconds.
It is because it wasn't 9 seconds. It was 24, 25 seconds. It really was that long. But
I'm so upset for Special Delivery Jones. Like, is anybody else upset for him? Like, he cut a great promo.
It was interesting. He was so over.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
But he lost.
That part was the highlight of his WrestleMania. Was his promo with Mean Gene.
It was a great promo.
It was freer.
It was. Yeah.
But this is WWF, and they do things like this. And sometimes I just feel like it's acceptable, right? So if Andre the Giant comes out and you say he's 1,000 pounds or something like that, it's like, okay. You know what? Like, even my fan kayfabe, I'm going to turn a blind eye and I don't really care. But come on. 9 seconds. Every single person in that crowd was like, I just was here. I just watched it. It was like clearly like 30 seconds or something like that.
According to Wikipedia, it's 25.
Yeah. No, I mean, I accurate. If we're being really precise, I did time it, so it's probably rounded up to 25. It was like 24 and change. I literally went back, waited for the opening bell, hit stopwatch, went next bell, stopwatch, 24 and change.
Do you have a stopwatch?
I have a phone.
Okay. Well, yeah, but you said stopwatch, like you had an old school plastic stopwatch.
Functioned. I should get one. I
might have one somewhere around here.
I should get one just to shove it in your face because you're trying to make jokes right now.
I have one from when I coached Jimmy.
And this is serious
so
stuff.
If I find it, it's all yours, buddy. I will bestow it upon you so you can time wrestling matches while you sit in your basement at home.
I live in South Carolina. We do not have basements in South Carolina.
They're building
That's
some.
Not true.
They're building some houses with basements.
Yeah, but that costs so much money though because of the clay. I don't know. We don't need to get into how to build a house in South Carolina.
That's not the podcast? I thought that was the podcast.
Oh yeah. House building. Yes, absolutely. You're 100% dead right. So I don't know. Anybody else have anything on King Kong Bundy versus Special Delivery Jones?
Yeah, I would like to know what they build King Kong Bundy at pounds wise, because I know that's something that you wanted to point at. Like, how much weight was King Kong Bundy according to the announcement?
Well, I'll have to lean on Nicola to look that up because I cannot remember. I did not write it down. But I did also remember something. I was that 450 pounds?
458.
Yeah.
And then what did Jesse Ventura say when they billed him at 458 pounds? Jesse Ventura goes, he is clearly over 500 pounds. There is no way that man weighed over 350. Like, they build him to be huge. He's a big dude, but there's no way he weighed 400 and whatever pounds. And there's no way he weighed 500 pounds. Just another way that Ventura was trying to push and push and push over one of the guys in the ring and be like, no, this guy's a monster. He's huge. But not really.
This is how you figure out actual weight of wrestlers. You figure out what the rate of Creamy Kramer is, and then you times a wrestler by how many Creamy Kramers it would take to build that wrestler.
That's a weird unit of measurement.
I didn't realize that was a unit of measurement. Thanks.
How many Creamy Kramers would we say King Kong Bundy is?
3.5.
3.5?
3.5 Creamy Kramers?
3.5 Creamy Kramers. Can we get a visual of that? Like, can we build King Kong Bundy and Creamy Kramer and then, like, put him in over, like, how many different ways?
Stuff him in.
Well, Creamy Kramer is also a unit of measurement for distance, too.
2.5.
So if Chuck could throw Creamy Kramer like a long dart, how far could he throw him? So
that's the right statement. He is a measure of distance, not weight. That's better. I like that better.
There you go. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Chuck is joining us. Hey, Chuck. Welcome to the Twitch stream. He wasn't able to join us on the video today. He says it will be 2.5 Creamy Creamers inside King Kong Bundy.
Okay. All right. Well, he is the expert on Creamy Kramer measurements. I believe he's the one who founded the science of Creamy Kramer. So.
The science of Creamy Kramer. Okay.
Steven's face.
He studied at the Bod Monkeys University on the science of Creamy Kramer.
Nice. I like this. This is good.
Very last thing to touch on before we leave here is that you have a valet for King Kong Bundy. That valet is the one, the only Jimmy Hart. And we'll wait till he comes out again, and then we need to talk. And really, let's wait till we get to Bobby Heenan, and then we're going to talk about valets. But that topic will wait as we go. Okay, so next we have Matt Bourne versus Ricky Steamboat in a match that is just like many other matches. We just shake our heads and go, well, it was a WrestleMania 1 match.
So I would have liked to see Tito versus the Dragon. WrestleMania 1. That would have been worth watching.
You see that? I wrote nothing. I literally took no notes on this match. You know why? Because it was worth no notes. I love Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Love him. But that match was worth no notes. It was a filler match. It was a pee break match. It was, if you put it in today's world of WrestleManias, it was the match that nobody watched and you want to follow because it's an easy one to follow.
Oh, is it? Is it though? Wait a second. Because I want you to do the math here.
Should have been.
Should have been an easy match to follow, right?
Should have been.
Okay, just making sure we're getting that clear. What else, boys? Any of you guys have any thoughts on Ricky Steamboat?
He deserved more. Just like with Tito, deserved more for his WrestleMania match. Deserved so much more.
Pair them up.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
WrestleMania 1. Imagine if we were talking about WrestleMania 1, Tito Santana versus Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Like, go back and rebook it. Imagine that.
Imagine that. It's what we're doing every day here at the Bald Monkeys Wrestling Podcast. We're monkeying around, and we're just building. We're rebuilding history. The butterfly effect. It would change everything. Who knows what would have happened? Who knows what world we would be living in? If we had booked wrestling from day one, you know what would have happened?
They would have been out of business.
There would be flying. There would have been.
Give us more credit than that.
There would be flying cars. That we would all be living on the moon. It'd be a great time, and everybody would still think that wrestling was like legit. Nobody would have ever broken kayfabe, and it would be like,
if you could have booked it from day one. You could have booked it from day one. Would Hogan be as big as he is, or what?
Hell no. You like that?
Did you get that tune? I got that.
Yeah.
So Chuck brings up an interesting point. Was there even storylines built up for WrestleMania 1? Like leading up to WrestleMania 1. Wikipedia doesn't have this answer, Nick. Were they able to build up storylines? What shows were they doing? What were they building towards? There's definitely some. As we get through these matches, I think we could touch on some of the storylines because there's definitely some history with some of the wrestlers.
Well, the main event had people hosting Saturday Night Live together and building, and some of these the stuff we've covered so far. No, it was just they wanted to get names on it because it's the first WrestleMania. They wanted it to be big. Each of them has had that one person that it's worth a name. Even the other one, not like a big match that we got coming up. It's just to get the name recognition on the card.
I think we're 2 matches away from actual storyline build up before the actual match. So I think the front half of the card, no, there was no storyline. It was just, this guy's a young Tito Santana, look at him wrestle. This guy's a young Ricky Steamboat, look at him wrestle. This is King Kong Bundy. He weighs 1,000 pounds. You know, that's basically the build up for those matches.
Well over 500.
I have the answer was on Wikipedia, by the way, jerk. If you want me to read it, if you want me to read it aloud.
Yes,
He doesn't do
read
his
it.
homework, and he's just like, he is Wikipedia. Wikipedia Nicola.
Chuck is normally Wikipedia, but apparently Nick is filling in today.
I had to fill his shoes today since he's not on the podcast. That's what good friends do. So,
Smelly shoes.
do you want the answer or not?
I'm waiting.
Yes.
We're
Okay.
waiting on you.
So for the first WrestleMania, McMahon began cross-promoting with MTV, which aired 2 wrestling specials. The first one was The Brawl to End It All, aired on July 23rd, 1984. And that had some stuff. And then at the War to Settle the Score on February 18th, 1985. So those were the 2 things.
That's like might be
we're
my
building it
favorite name for a special ever.
So there
The
you go.
War to Settle the Score.
Two specials to kind of build up to this big pay-per-view event and all that stuff. So,
I don't know about you guys, but I think we're onto something here. What if we just record Nick reading Wikipedia wrestling events?
you
Like,
guys want followers and clicks? There
He
you
just
go, buddy.
reads the Wikipedia.
I will watch the next one. All right, I'll do my homework next time I come on. All right, I feel bad.
I think whichever one's Nick's favorite WrestleMania, he can't be a part of until he makes up to this.
Well, actually
Oh.
though, because
No.
remember at the beginning I was talking about, every other week doing retro. Well, we were watching wrestling with Chaz last night, and he was like, "Oh, well, I hope you do." And it was, what was it? No Way Out 2004?
Yes. He basically
Yeah,
made
Before had a lot of good
a special request for a pay-per-view for us to review. Yep.
And I thought, wow, you know what? That's an even better idea.
Latino
So
Heat.
Creamy Kramer picked WrestleMania 1. He wanted us to give this a shot. And I think if we don't have any ideas or any requests, we should keep going with that. But the next one we do is going to be No Way Out 2004. And the one we do after that, who knows? Maybe you watching right now, maybe you can choose. Maybe you comment on this video. Maybe you comment at Twitter. Hey, we really want you to watch this and review this and talk about this.
Yep.
We'll do it.
Maybe we can put a couple polls out there, see what people feel.
Yeah. Well, we don't need to do it yet, right? Because
Oh, not yet. No, we got a few weeks.
we know what the next one's gonna be. So we're talking like 5 weeks away.
That's all right though. That's all right. We got some people watching. We got some people not talking, but we'll get them. We'll get them talking.
Yeah.
We're not going anywhere.
How many watchers we got on the whatchamacallit?
3. Big 3.
And I'm
Is
one.
that including?
Oh,
Yeah, I was gonna. Yeah, that's you, Chris, Jimmy, and then Chuck.
No.
Yeah. Yo,
No. No. I believe. Let me see. I believe Vape Ross Vape is in the chat right now. Not talking, but that's okay. I could see you.
All right. So
That's
next
creepy.
match on the card. Next match, we have Johnny Valiant coming out to the ring with his competitor Brutus Beefcake, and then David San Martino coming out with his father Bruno San Martino, in what we can only call, I don't know, trying to sell David San Martino with an old Bruno San Martino. I mean, that's basically what this was.
100%. If you've followed any of David's career with it, they just used him to bring Bruno back into it, to get him back into the ring eventually later on. I'd never cared for the Beefcake, whether it was in any company. I don't know what it is. It just didn't do it for me. And which I didn't care for at all.
I disagree. I think that yes, Chuck, agreed. Brutus Beefcake from Parts Unknown. That's how they build them, right? I mean,
Logan's back pocket.
I don't mind Brutus Beefcake as a wrestler. I was always fine with him. Now this match, was I fine with this match? No, but I think that's more David San Martino really not being a great wrestler.
It was just.
Wrestlers
It was.
can get
fun.
great matches out of bad wrestlers. I'm just saying.
He looked odd. Did you guys notice how big his tights were. Like he wore the old school like tights that like covered his belly button, and he was out there like trying to grapple with. I mean, Brutus Beefcake is the beginning of really good '80s wrestling, like the beginning of really good '80s characters, right? Like he had the build, he had the look, he had a bow tie. Like Brutus was.
Oh, I always liked the
way.
character, but him as a wrestler, I never cared for. I never cared for him in the ring.
It was just a weird character for him to come out as a bad guy. But I mean, the biggest thing for me on the match, Bruno Sammartino got a huge pop. Like the crowd went ape for him, even though he was wearing like a dad sweater in the back interview and stuff. Like, but they went ape. I mean, they really love diaper tights. Ross Vape says diaper tights.
Yes.
There you go.
Accurate.
When it comes to Bruno Sammartino in Madison Square Garden, it doesn't even have to be in a wrestling event. He's going to get a massive pop at Madison Square Garden because it's Bruno Sammartino.
How old was he at that point? Do we know how old he was at WrestleMania 1? It is 50s possibly. Wikipedia.
I would say early to mid 50s.
Nicopedia.
Change his name right now to Nicopedia.
Do you want this answer?
Yes, we want this answer.
So he was born October 6, 1935, so he would have been about 50 years old.
50.
Yeah, about 50 years old.
He moved pretty quick, though.
Oh, he was always in great shape.
Yeah.
To me,
so
this is like the turning point of WrestleMania 1. Now, I don't know how. It's more of a merge. It's maybe not a turn. Maybe a merge. Maybe they just kind of slid over a little bit.
Real slow, man.
Yeah.
Slow.
But like, honestly, this was the point where it's like, okay. Like we might
on the exit ramp to start moving up some.
Yeah. But this was that point where I said like there's no build up. There was really no talk. We get to this point, it's like, okay, they kind of got Sammartino in it. They brought his son in with his diaper tights, and we're going to have a match with Brutus Beefcake, who eventually we know is going to be big. And then we'll give you a good card after this. So hope you got your pee in, hope you got your popcorn and your beer. Let's go. They could have started the show right here.
Pee-break matches are important. Listen, as a fan who goes to many pay-per-view like tapings when I can, a pee match is like super important. You need a match to not be good so that you can talk yourself into,
This was the dump card because you had all the time in the world to take a dump in the beginning of WrestleMania 1 before you really had to pay attention.
Not in that 9-second match.
Yeah. Well,
you could have wiped.
Oh man. All right. So yeah, with that, it's important to say. So Brutus Beefcake, David Sammartino, that match ends double disqualification. Kind of weird. I mean, it's really just a build up for again Bruno Sammartino to kind of get physical on the outside so that the crowd has something to pop for. And there is, there's a couple times like there's lots of cheap pops throughout WrestleMania 1. And it's like, oh, wow, that's something that has not changed at all in WrestleMania.
That's through all WrestleManias.
Yeah.
Just like the gimmick match. There's always a gimmick match, too.
Like, everybody always uses the term cheap heat, cheap pop. Come on. Cheap pop. So, next we have Junkyard Dog going against Greg Valentine, who is led out to the ring by Jimmy Hart. Oh, Jimmy Hart. This is number 2, the number 2 time with him. But again, we're going to hold off till we get a little bit further.
Intercontinental Championship match.
Yes.
First title match of the night, too.
Was a title match that I think I could say most of the people in the Bald Monkeys, if we saw this finish in a current WWE pay-per-view, we'd say, oh, there you go, WWE with their really bad finishes.
They've been copying this finish for 20 some odd years. 30 some odd years.
They literally sit there in the writing room and they go, should we do the Junkyard Dog finish? yeah, let's do the Junkyard Dog finish for it.
All right, we're going to have Roman Reigns versus The Undertaker. And let's see, we're going to go back and forth. He's going to sit up, okay, and then Junkyard Dog to end it. All right, cool. Let's move to the next match. And we're going to do Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose. They're going to go back and forth. Junkyard Dog finish. All right, got it. Next. Like, I can see Vince in the room. They literally call it Junkyard Dog every time they finish a match.
That's what we should like search high and low for like the most notorious wrestler that always won by roll up and start calling the roll up by that wrestler.
Ooh, Wikipedia, get on that.
Yeah, not right now. That's your homework for later. It's your punishment homework for not watching WrestleMania 1. And having to rely on the Wikipedia.
He didn't do his regular homework. What do you think he's going to do? Punishment homework.
I don't know. I mean, we can't really.
He's a hero. Come on.
I have morals. Come on, Steven. You know
what?
If my punishment homework is assigned, I'll eventually do it. Just maybe not in the time frame they're looking for.
Ask for an extension.
Overall, I thought that this match, like you said, this is where it was merging again. Ever so slowly, but merging towards being like the better half of the card, more interesting wrestling match. I think Junkyard Dog was a very, especially by the time the match was over, felt like a very compelling character to me. But again, kind of a janky finish, kind of, hey, how can we keep this guy over, keep the heat on this person, but not actually have to change the title? It felt like a cop-out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a couple things for this match. I know Kramer was keeping track. So you got music for the Junkyard Dog. Yep. So, I mean, I think this is the first time we actually hear music.
I wrote that down, first time that we heard any kind of music, yep.
And the crowd went crazy when the music hit. Like, definitely a crowd favorite. Chuck says fan favorite, Junkyard Dog. The idea that he cheats to win, they reverse the fact that Greg the Hammer won, and then Greg the Hammer refuses to get back in the ring and gets counted out, and now the Junkyard Dog wins, but the title doesn't change. It was like the beginnings of a way to give the good guy the win without making the bad guy drop the belts. And I go back and try to remember other instances like that, and I feel like this was one of the first times on a major pay-per-view that they did that.
Which by the way, can we talk about the original finish before they overturn it? The fact that they overturned that finish was absolutely ridiculous, because it wasn't like another official came out and said, "Oh no, you got the wrong finish." It's like, so wait a second, as a fan. If I go to a WWE show and I don't like the finish, can I jump over the rail, run up to the ring, and then look at the ref and say, no, you did the wrong thing? And then that ref will turn and go, okay, we're going back again. Like, do I get redos all the time?
We live in a different time, okay?
Is that like the wild card rule?
Back in the day like that.
Wild card.
Wild card rule, yeah. Yep. It was weird. Wild finish rule. Yeah, that's what it was. So yeah, I silly.
What's your guys' ranking of the green Intercontinental belt when it comes to all the different styles of Intercontinental belt we've ever had?
Listen, white belt reigns supreme. White Intercontinental belt reigns supreme.
Ooh, and here we got two no's.
T for time
Come
for
on,
T.
Chris, you know which one's my favorite.
This has nothing. This is just a random little bit here, and it has nothing to do with WrestleMania 1 or WWF or WWE. Moose's white belt last night on Slammiversary was fire. That belt with a white strap is fire. Okay, bring it back to WWF land. Green belt, it's okay.
It's not the worst they've had.
I like a lot of those old belts, man. I mean, you think about like the pantheon of like the best belts to the worst belts, where like the best belts would be like, like the old school like NWA championship and stuff like that. I really hold in high regard. And then like at the bottom end is like the women's AEW championship. Like,
That thing's
No,
too tiny.
the Divas,
really close to the
Divas
bottom of the barrel.
butterfly.
Yeah.
The
No,
worst
the
is that
Divas one
Divas
was
butterfly.
terrible.
It's garbage.
So
The
if I, yeah, I was gonna say, like, I'll let Kramer go, but I'm probably gonna be a little bit different than him. So go ahead, Creamy.
That's fine. We're very different. The best Intercontinental title, the yellow Ultimate Warrior won when he beat Hulk Hogan for the world title.
I would put that one at 2.
Okay.
I would put number 1. It's the white one, 100%. And then I like the Ultimate Warrior one in yellow. I like it so much that Kramer has it.
Yep.
And then number 3 is this green belt. I love this green belt because it has that cool nostalgia look to it. It's got that almost like heavyweight boxer championship belt look to it, right? With the circles, and it's kind of like lighter looking. So this was a cool looking belt.
Had that look.
Yeah. So, but I mean, again, it's interesting to see how the belt transforms. I mean, we're getting new belts now still. Belt. We're not supposed to say belt. Sorry.
Championship.
So the one thing I would say is Vape, I 100% agree. It is a travesty that Junkyard Dog never held a belt. Like, that is
100%.
Is a big problem. But I would say, again, you look at the history of wrestling, he's not the only victim of not, getting their fair share of like titles. I mean, there's a lot of great wrestlers out there that never ever got their due. So it's a shame. And
there's one of them later on in the night who should have been a world champion at some point in his career, and he never was.
Agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
So, hey, Rocky Winner, welcome.
So this is where, the night starts to lean towards being much better. And whereas we said it was merging, with this Junkyard Dog match, it, I think, securely turns to the good as we hit our next match. No? Thoughts?
Have we missed the Andre match?
No. Andre match is a little bit later.
It
is. Our next match, our next match is the Iron Sheik and Nicola Volkov versus the U.S. Express, Barry Windham and Mike Rotunda. And this is the first match that felt a little bit more like a wrestling match.
Yeah, like a WrestleMania match. Like it felt more like WrestleMania. Like, I think this was the moment where all of a sudden, like, the crowd got really into it. You had both sides with managers. Like, everything about this match just lifted the whole program.
Sure. I also think that it's important, again, we keep having these valets. Everybody's got a valet. Freddie Blassie is a valet. Lou Albano is a valet. So it's something you just don't you don't see very much right now. And again, we're going to talk about it after the next match, but everybody has somebody. Everybody's, being let out by somebody. It's weird. It's weird how it was like that back in the day. But I think the stars of this
thanks for following, Rocky Winner.
Are the heels. Iron Sheik and Nicola Volkov, they're the reason this match works. And this is another thing where we talk about cheap heat, cheap pop. Because it's very much like, Iron Sheik talking against America. Yeah, exactly. Just constant USA chants all the time.
I love them.
What'd you boys think of the match, though? As the match as a whole?
I loved it as a whole. It might be probably my favorite match on the card. I just love watching the Iron Sheik wrestle, though.
Look at those boots.
It's beautiful. His whole gimmick, like he lived it. I mean, even today, he still lives that he's this bad guy, and it's perfect. It fit the style of wrestling they had back then. Perfect character work, perfect heat. It was great. I loved every bit of it.
Yeah. I would say that if you don't follow the Iron Sheik on Twitter, you don't need to follow him, but every now and again, go onto his Twitter. The dude says the craziest stuff all the time.
He's great.
He was doing it on the mic back then. Like you could tell, like he got on the mic, which we didn't talk about. How cool is that old school mic that comes down from the ceiling in MSG? So it's like this
Oh, it's
crazy
gangster.
double setup mic with like arms sticking out. And so the Sheik is like getting crazy. America stink, Russia and Iran #1. Like he's just yelling at the crowd, and they begin throwing stuff
Yeah.
from the crowd. I
This
don't
was a trend
remember.
for the rest of the night.
But
By
do
the
you
way.
guys remember that? Like I don't remember stuff actually being thrown in the ring until like WCW days. Like
No,
this,
I remember it from WrestleMania 3.
I
WrestleMania 3 was like that.
again, my memory is crappy because head injuries. But like, holy cow! Like I was like, they threw stuff. Like people like were able to throw stuff at wrestlers. Like and they were trying to peg people with, I don't know if it was cans or cups or something, but they had molten heat in there. It was great.
X Factor, though. Remember? X Factor. That contributes to it. I mean, not only do they really dislike these characters, but back then we still have a bunch of people who are like, this is real. This is what they stand for. They really hate America. So if they're in America, we hate them.
Yeah.
And the Iron Sheik might have really hated America, though.
I think he does. I think he still does.
Yeah.
Now Volkov's like a really nice guy. And he tries really hard to like sing the Russian national anthem, and you see he's actually trying to sing. Like he's not trying to be a heel, which is funny to me because a lot of times heels will sing and they'll try to be bad, like they'll try to almost sing off key so the crowd boos them or something. Like he was like, "Oh no, I could sing and I'm going to sing my national anthem, as well as I can." So,
where the microphone came down and the camera placement, the microphone was just like this over him. So while he's singing, you couldn't see his face at all. I thought that was fantastic. Intentional or accidental, that was perfect.
Production.
Well, remember, we said low production, so it's definitely not intentional.
True. But the one thing I do want to point out is the interview that happened before the match took place with Mean Gene. The Iron Sheik called him Gene Mean.
And I'm sure that wasn't on purpose. I'm sure that was he just blurts out stuff. The Sheik never his English is terrible. To this day his English is terrible.
Yeah. He did do it at the end. So after the match when they interviewed him again, he did call him Gene Mean again. So either he messed up twice, which definitely could be, or maybe he really did mean it. But I thought that was great. Gene Mean.
Gene Mean. What about you, Nicola, Mr. Homework Missing Individual? What'd you think?
What does Wikipedia say?
No,
you want? Was that?
I want to know. Well, give me something. What do you think about the Iron Sheik? What do you think about Nikolai Volkov?
From my past experiences, I always wonder, since you guys talked about, how well that worked with the crowd, the USA versus, the anti-Americans and stuff like that. That storyline that recycles itself over and over and over through the next 25. I always wonder, since it was so successful the first time, maybe that's why Vince McMahon keeps going back to that well. Because what if that hadn't worked? What if the crowd wasn't that receptive to it? What if it had, maybe we wouldn't have seen, all these anti-American heels, through the 90s with Bret Hart and all them, or the Un-Americans in the early 2000s and stuff like that. So, I mean, we got a lot of great stables, out of that very beginning one. So, even though I didn't watch the match and I've only read about it on Wikipedia today. Maybe, it was the success of that match at WrestleMania 1 that kind of boosted that kind of storyline for the next 30, 35 years.
I think that legitimately for years and years and years, Vince McMahon was always trying to recreate Hulk Hogan, and it just never ever worked. He lucked out into guys like The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin, which were nothing like Hulk Hogan at all. And then the closest he ever got to it, was John Cena. And now John Cena's taken the pedestal, and it's like, well, who's going to be the next John Cena? And all the people that they push, they always deny, I mean, they want to push Roman Reigns so hard, but anytime that you actually start to feel the full force of that push, everybody says, hell no. And they just boo the crap out of him.
Because diehard wrestling fans are like the New Yorkers in Madison Square Garden at WrestleMania 1. They don't want to be told what to do, and if they don't like something, they're going to throw shit at you. It's just the way
Truth.
I'm gonna date myself a little bit because I'm old, but going back to Nick's point. So when you talk about like my country, USA, the fight of USA versus Russia, USA versus Iran, WrestleMania is actually still feeding off of where that started, and that started with the Miracle on Ice. That started in 1980 when the Miracle on Ice hit, and everybody in the country got so patriotic. And wrestling jumped on board with that and said, ooh, we can do this Russia versus United States thing and make a gimmick out of it and make a storyline out of it. So it's like 5 years prior that this storyline even starts, that people are like, oh, Russia's a heel, Iran is a heel, go USA. So it's interesting because it still to this day works, right? Like we're 40 years later from Miracle on Ice, and that's still 100% a storyline that's going to work. I know, I'm almost 40. I know. I'm old!
Very old. But let's keep things moving. So now we're getting to the eighth wonder of the world, Andre the Giant, in a body slam challenge match for $15,000. Well, it's not just his career versus $15,000 to be, more specific. And it is Big John Studd with Bobby the Brain Heenan. Again, look, who is this person? Why
another manager?
This valet, these managers. So let's talk about valets and managers for a second, because it is something that current WWE has pretty much sworn off, with a few exceptions. They do not want valets. So minus like Vega or somebody like that, they don't. And Paul Heyman, yeah,
MVP?
they don't really. MVP's been doing it to a lesser degree. Yeah, they don't really have like that be all valet. That's not only just valeting a single person. So Heyman did it for a while, right? Where Heyman was valeting for, I believe, CM Punk and Brock Lesnar for a little amount of time. So that is a very important part of wrestling history for me, because that's when I feel like they almost kind of got back into that, and they should have, because if you have the right valet, that does so much for a wrestler. And it's not like, when you look back at this old stuff, my favorite part of it is that valet isn't just the mouthpiece for the wrestler. That's what I don't like about Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar doesn't really talk. It's Paul Heyman talking and Brock Lesnar doing the wrestling. That's not the same thing. I'm talking about Jimmy Hart was coming out with these guys. Bobby the Brain Heenan was coming out with these guys, and they were both talking. And that actually, I think, added a lot. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, it adds to the whole stable facet. You can have any group of people you want, as long as you have somebody that can speak for them. It'd be great. The whole Zelina Vega is doing that right now. It'd be perfect if they had more people to do that. I mean, WCW even tried it there for a while with, what is his name? Eric Bischoff with the NWO. Whenever Hogan wasn't speaking a lot, Bischoff was always there running his mouth. Having that heel kind of character can make even the weakest faction look strong, because they can focus on what they're doing in the ring and cheating and being slimy, and let somebody else get all the heat for them on the mic. If it's executed right, it's beautiful.
I don't think we don't have the same talent in the valet world that we had back then. I think people are more directed towards being a full-time wrestler than being trained to be a valet. I think back then there was guys who were like, you know what? No, this is my lane. I'm going to be a manager. Jimmy Hart was a manager. That was it. Like, he wasn't a wrestler. Where a lot of guys nowadays, you train to be a wrestler, you find out that maybe taking bumps is not your thing. Maybe you can't be, work another wrestler very well, so you become a manager. It was like, well, plan B, I'll be a manager. I feel like back then these guys were coming in and it's like their wrestling career was either over or they were specifically just a manager and that's what they were trained to do, and they added so much to the people they were managing. Jimmy Hart had a different jacket and megaphone for every person and team he brought out there. Like, that's dedication to the character. It's not just, well, I'll just wear a suit and I'll go out there and stand against the ring and slam on the mat. I joke about Arn Anderson right now with his stupid playbook with Cody, but you know what? It's a layer. It's adding to it. And I appreciate that. They need to add layers to these characters because they're not just a figure standing in a cutout just standing at the ringside. They're actually a piece of the story and they need to add to it. Can I drink?
I would also say that current day, I tweeted about Robert Stone the other day. Robert Stone.
He didn't like it.
He didn't like it. He told me to shut up.
He told you to shut up.
But you know what? Dude, you could be, I mean, I don't know why you're telling me to shut up when I'm trying to, talk A-listers into joining with you, but like, you could be the best manager. The best manager. I mean, he's got like the full character to be a manager, and I don't even mind like the goofy thing. I just wish like he could still do the goofy thing and nobody could take him seriously, but if he has the people to back him up, he's still a good manager.
Mm-hmm. He's got all the chance in the world to be really big right now, and he could be like a Jimmy Hart. He could be a classy Freddie Blassie. Like, he could be that great manager that goes with the champions on the good or the bad side.
So, getting back to this match a little bit, again, cute little WWF bag filled with $15,000. My favorite moment of the night is when they're backstage. Mean Gene Okerlund is, interviewing them, and they have it open, and Mean Gene keeps like looking over and trying to reach down. They keep like smacking his hand. Drop that! Get away! Get away! Mean Gene was just awesome.
It was small bills, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was like fives.
And it like looked like crumpled up $1 bills. 15,000 crumpled up $1 bills.
There's a couple of fives in there. Maybe a 10.
Yeah, maybe.
No 20s.
No 20s. No, definitely no $100 bills. Oh my god.
Monopoly money.
Maybe. Well, you would have to ask the people in the front row. You would have to ask the people in the front row.
Does Wikipedia say that? Does Wikipedia tell us if it was real money in the bag or not? What's the matter, Wikipedia? You don't like when I call on you?
I don't think about that.
He is the kid in the back of the classroom that didn't do his homework, that's trying to sit quietly and hope that no one calls on him.
And
maybe the teacher will ignore
him. Back as a fellow student, and you're out here throwing me under the bus, brother.
Trying to cover my ass.
This was not, this was, Andre got a big pop because he's Andre the Giant. Wasn't a very interesting match. I think you guys would agree to that. I mean, I don't know that many of these Andre matches are super interesting. It's always just like, I shake you, I smack you, I throw you. And then
he's a big old dude.
And then abruptly, Andre picks up Big John Studd, body slams him, takes the bag of cash. Oh.
He weakened his leg first.
There you go.
That was if you listen back when Nick goes and does his extra work. When you listen back and he actually kicks Big John Studd in the leg, and Ventura and Gorilla Monsoon are like, he weakened his leg, and that's when he was able to reach underneath him and hoist him up for the body slam. And that was an annoying echo. Don't do that again.
And then here comes Andre the Giant. He grabs the bag, opens it up, begins to start throwing money into the center front row on the opposite side of the camera. which causes everybody to cheer really loud initially before they grab the bag and then run away with the money.
Was that the first time someone's ever made it rain? Did Andre start that?
I think we should.
That's a T-shirt. That is a T-shirt. Andre the Giant going, making it rain. Awesome.
But yeah, I mean that's just my opinion of Andre the Giant matches is they're all pretty boring, and I'm sure at some point in our future we're going to talk about WrestleMania 3, where we can talk about one of the most boring yet most iconic matches of all time.
I won't watch that.
Skip that match.
You can bet that.
I mean we could put it whenever we do WrestleMania 3. We could put it as the second to last match we talk about, and then just talk about Macho Man versus Steamboat for the Intercontinental Championship match.
Which should have been the main event of that night.
It was Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant.
Hogan can suck a frog.
Suck eggs.
Moose sucks eggs.
Moose sucks eggs.
I don't know. Anybody have any other thoughts before we move on to only female match of the night?
I love Big John Studd, and I wish they would have used him more. That's all.
I mean,
I had a cool Big John Studd wrestling figure when I was a kid, and I remember how much I love Big John. Did you ever see the old school wrestling figures? They were rubber, and they were stuck in one position, and that was it.
I had him, and I still have Hogan.
Why don't you have Big John Studd still?
I have no idea what happened to that.
Oh, see, again, look what happened to Big John Studd. Even his wrestling figure can't last. It's just terrible.
My brother probably took it and threw it somewhere.
For as much as I dislike Hulk Hogan, I can actually think of one piece of Hulk Hogan merchandise that I might be willing to spend money on and hang up like on the wall. And that would be if I could, you know how Hulk Hogan had like those chains of like the restaurants and stuff like that. Do you remember watching like the first episode of WCW Nitro? He's like sitting in front of one of the restaurants. Oh my gosh. Okay, so apparently we're all gonna have to watch WCW Nitro.
Wait. I remember Wikipedia.
They're in the Mall of America, right?
I remember Thunder in Paradise, but I don't remember the restaurant.
And he's sitting, they go to interview him, and he's sitting in front of the restaurant, and I forget what it is. It's like a spaghetti restaurant or something like that. Something like that. Yeah, I'm telling you, this is a legit thing. If it says the name of that restaurant like on the menu that they put up in the mall, and I could get one of those menus and frame it, I would totally hang that up. That is a cool piece of like throwback merchandise right there. The menu from a failed restaurant of Hulk Hogan.
Okay, match.
Women's match. We've got Wendy Richter with Cyndi Lauper and Leilani Kai with the Fabulous Moolah. And this is the first time that hey, your boy Lord Alfred Hayes, he got a little bit of love from the heels, got some heel kisses. They both gave him a smooch. Yeah, he was terrified. He got 2 kisses and he was terrified. I mean, I might have, no offense to her, but I might have back then been pretty horrified if I got a kiss from the Fabulous Moolah too. She's iconic, but by no means,
not good.
It's like your weird grandma coming onto you or something like that. It's like very weird. Why is everybody shaking their head at that?
That should be the name of the episode. It's like your weird grandma coming onto you.
Oh my god! You know what? That's so funny for so many other inside joke reasons too.
So the new biggest pop of the night happens in this match when Cyndi Lauper comes out, because when Cyndi Lauper comes out, the place explodes like it's a rock concert.
Yeah,
everybody's really excited.
That's why they had her there.
Yeah.
And Nicopedia had mentioned when reading through his Wikipedia article that that you had these MTV specials and stuff like that. Well, what was Cyndi Lauper if not like one of the biggest MTV idols at that point? Like huge.
Yeah.
So of course, all the young kids that are hip to music culture at that time, they're all about Cyndi Lauper.
That's when MTV was about music, right?
That was a long time ago, but yes.
So was
It's
WrestleMania.
been a while.
Let me say one thing about this match. Women's wrestling has come a long way, because there was very little rhythm or chemistry in this match. It was like if me and Kramer went in the ring and decided to just have a wrestling match, and we're just like, okay, I'm not going to let you do anything and you're not going to let me do anything, but we're going to have a wrestling match. And it looked like they were just trying to jaw for position the whole time, and every once in a while there was a kick. Every once in a while somebody got kicked on the ground. I think there was like one decent arm drag or something in the match. It was rough. It was a rough match.
Sloppy and stiff.
Has Captain Chuckles seen that wrestling match between Christopher and Creamy K? Or is it Christopher, you've seen that match between Creamy K and Captain Chuckles?
Oh no, if Captain Chuckles wants to powerbomb you, you are going to get power bombs, usually into a bush.
X.
Yeah.
This match was pretty basic. But as was women's wrestling back then. I mean, it was pretty basic.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's come a long way.
You're totally right. We have come a long way, kind of. And the reason I say kind of is because I am not a fan of women's wrestling nowadays in WWE, because they still put too many holds on stuff. No, you can't do that. They'd still tell the women they can't do. Oh, no, you can't do that spot. Like, why? Every man is allowed to do crazy spots. Why won't they let the women do crazy spots? There are definitely some women out there, like your Io Shirai's and your Charlotte Flairs, that are willing to do some crazy spots. And they only get as far as they allow them to. So like, oh yeah, well, we're finally okay with you doing stuff off of the top turnbuckle, not into the ring, but outside of the ring. But like, they're not letting them like do Jeff Hardy stuff and like climb all the way to the top of giant ladders and just do humongous moves off of them and stuff like that. And that bothers me. Now, maybe, and this is where the whole transparency argument comes. Maybe if, it's a transparency thing, and maybe those ladies don't want to do those high spots. But I want to hear them say that.
Maybe they have more common sense than Jeff Hardy and be like, hey, 20-foot ladder might break my neck. Maybe I shouldn't jump off of that.
I don't know. There is a whole slew of wrestlers that have, if you're calling it at a lesser amount, as little or less common sense than Jeff Hardy, if that's your argument.
No.
There's plenty of people that do crazy stunts.
I mean, I think what Nick's alluding to is longevity, and the idea that some wrestlers want to be around for a long time and aren't looking for the big high and adrenaline rush that Jeff Hardy's looking for.
I think every wrestler, and I say this with all the sarcasm in the world, I think every wrestler doesn't want to be able to walk when they're 50.
Yeah.
I don't think Jeff's going to be able to walk much past his 50s without the help of a cane or a wheelchair, with, the way he's treated his body the last 20, 25 years putting on shows for people.
It'll be a badass looking cane probably, though. A cool like symbol.
Like
Honestly, he didn't feel his body for
for
most of that time, though, so
it would look like the cane was trapped in the 90s, just like his ring attire. It's never changed. It's like, oh my God, you're still wearing the same. It's like, can we not just update this just a little bit?
If it ain't broke, don't fix it, Jimmy.
It's broke. Sorry. Fix it.
You think the women back then, to your point, were limited in what they were allowed to do? Like,
sure.
were they told, like, you can do this move, this move, this move, and that was it? Like, they had 3 or 4 moves to use, and that's why the match was kind of...
I think so.
They probably didn't have as much training and stuff either, as much, prep time. They probably didn't get, it was kind of because the match before the main event usually is kind of like the filler match at like pay-per-views now, and they were kind of the match before like the big main event. So they probably had time constraints to think about and stuff like that. So they probably didn't get a whole lot of time to maybe do what they wanted to do.
Either.
I was gonna say, I think the craziest thing that they did in that match, sorry, is the splash off the top turnbuckle.
Yeah.
And that was the one that I was saying earlier, that when you look back at it and you see, and this is a small woman who was getting up there to do that jump, and it looked like it was going to break.
Yeah, it was shaky.
Yeah.
But they let her do it.
I think overall though, because I try to put myself back in that mindset, it wasn't an awful match. It was just a very basic match. So for a women's match back then, I thought it was, kind of entertaining, but it was about as basic as the first half of this card. There wasn't anything, and it was interesting. I don't know that any match ever went like too far off the rails, except for the Hogan match. That match was off the rails, and that's what's next. We've got Hulk Hogan with Mr. T being not quite valeted, but like coming with Jimmy Snuka, right? And then Paul Orndorff and Roddy Piper with Cowboy Bob Orton. And that's when I was talking about, you got Cowboy Bob Orton and you got Jimmy Snuka. Why aren't they being used in the card at all? But I would argue, Chris, from watching this pay-per-view, that, and I don't know if you were arguing against this or not, this was the biggest pop of the night was when Hogan came out.
Oh, yeah.
Or when Muhammad Ali came out.
Oh, yeah.
It was very big when Muhammad Ali came out. And Muhammad Ali was... Well, actually, I get too far ahead of myself. We have a guest judge. And as was it ring announcer?
Mm-hmm.
Liberace?
No, it's timekeeper.
Oh,
Timekeeper.
sorry. Yeah.
Liberace was the timekeeper, and the Yankees manager at the time, Billy Martin,
yeah,
is the ring announcer who's reading directly from a card and not reading very well.
Yeah. Madison Square Garden, of course, Billy Martin's going to get over. Liberace's where it was like, okay, well, this is the weird, random stuff that I like, and actually hits the non-meme version of wonderful. I thought Liberace coming out was just great, and he got in the ring and he was just soaking it all up, and it was ridiculous.
His kick line with so it's not just him. It's Liberace with the Rockettes.
Yeah.
So it's Liberace with this is the epitome of the first ever WrestleMania. Like this is the beginning of the cheapness of the pop. This is how we're gonna go grab the Rockettes. We're gonna grab Liberace. We're gonna grab Billy Martin. We're gonna grab Muhammad Ali. We're gonna shove them into this match that makes no sense about them. It has nothing to do with any of these people, but you're gonna get up and cheer for every single one of those people. And that was the moment where it was like, oh, we could do this every year. Just bring random people and get a pop from the crowd.
But what was interesting was I was watching it and I was thinking to myself, this is random, but it's kind of working for me. And I've never said that about any of the modern day WrestleManias. Every single time they bring celebrities in, I'm like, this is just the worst. Like, get them out of here. We don't need them. And maybe it's because WWE, I'm sorry if this sounds like a complaint. It definitely is. WWE over the past had hoarded so many wrestlers that all of a sudden, you're not using people in WrestleMania like in modern times. And it's like, why aren't we seeing these people wrestle? And to a lesser degree, that happened in WrestleMania 1. but it wasn't nearly as a travesty as like some of the previous WrestleManias we've watched, where it's been like, how are these wrestlers not wrestling during WrestleMania?
Because they didn't
But
need
I
to.
kind of liked it.
They didn't need to. That's.
I kind of like the celebrities.
But think about it. They didn't need to have these wrestlers wrestle because just having them in attendance sold the ticket. People weren't coming there to see these wrestlers wrestle. They were just coming there to see these people. I came to see Jimmy Snuka in the corner. I came to see Hulk Hogan come out to his music. Like there really wasn't anything they were coming to see wrestle. They were just coming to see the people. It was like you're driving around Hollywood and you just, oh, that's somebody, so and so lives there. Like I paid literally to just see where someone lives or just see that person live. Like that was, we take that for granted now, seeing things live. Think about how small Madison Square Garden is compared to the giant venues today. There's only so many people that get to see that live.
Which I think is a good thing at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that when you, again, nowadays, these, WrestleMania 36 was so, or like not 36, but like 34, 35, like they're so humongous. They've got so many people going to it. And, I did it because they just did it with the Royal Rumble. A bunch of us, or well, 3 of the 5 people in this call right now, were in Houston for the Royal Rumble, and it was a massive venue. It was a massive venue, and you know what? It fucking sucked. It was awful because the production team alone, like they were never showing like, how I know Edge came out? Because his music played. I didn't see him for like 5 minutes, but like we heard his music and everybody freaked out. But I was far enough away, but also close enough to tell you 100% that everybody else was just cheering for his music. That's it. They were just cheering for his music. They couldn't see him.
Well, that's okay, but time out. That's no different than Madison Square Garden at the time in WrestleMania 1. Think about WrestleMania 1. Go back and watch, Nick, and see WrestleMania 1 where Hulk Hogan comes out and his music hits. What was everybody cheering for? Because they could see Hulk Hogan?
Because he was back in the, because he hadn't walked out yet. I get you. What's up, Nick?
So with our Royal Rumble seats, the way the entrance ramp was like kind of staged, that was true for every single wrestler that came down the whole night. You didn't see him until they actually stepped foot in the ring. So I don't think Madison Square Garden was that bad. And as much as it pains me to say, I agree with Big Baby Jimmy. He's 100% right on this one.
But that's just like an off topic, like, that has nothing to do with WrestleMania 1. Not really. It's more just like they've turned these big pay-per-views, and it does compare to WrestleMania in that way. They've turned it into what is the biggest freaking crowd that we can get at any given time, because we just like the optics of that. Because and you know what, to a certain degree they're not wrong, right? Because if we weren't at the Royal Rumble and I was sitting at home, and I would have just been like, wow, not only do I get to see every wrestler come out in every moment that they're out there, look at this huge crowd. And it was loud. I mean, the pops were crazy loud at that place. But being there, was it worth paying all the money to go there? And
yes, it was. You got to spend time with your friends.
Well, okay. I mean, you're gonna catch me with that one. I have nothing to say to that one. I'm not going to disagree. I would love all of us to go to a wrestling event once they start letting fans in again. So you got me there, Nicopedia.
Is that going to be my new nickname going forward? Did I lose a Nicomora?
No, I don't think you lost the Nicomora, but today you're Nicopedia.
Not yet, at least.
Yeah. So, so Hulk Hogan, Mr. T, Jimmy Snuka, Paul Orndorff, Roddy Piper, Bob Orton, and this match, before it even started, was off the rails, and it never was on the rails, really. It reminded me, I mean, if this match happened today it would have been the exact same thing that I say all the time when we're watching these crazy tag matches go off the rails, which is like, ref, do your job. Like, why are there two people in there at all time? Why aren't you counting this guy out? Like, he needs to, be on the outside or whatever. I thought Muhammad Ali personally was very entertaining. There was definitely a time where I was thinking if I was Vince McMahon, I might be like, tell him to get off the side of the ring. Tell him to get off the side of the ring. Because he was, at one point, he was kind of blocking the angle of one of the cameras. But it was fun to see him like trying to enforce. He was doing better than the other ref. The other ref was just letting everything go off the rails. Muhammad Ali was at least trying to say, nope, only one person at a time, and was literally chasing people down to make sure that happened.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think about the match?
I just love Roddy Piper.
Yes.
It's great.
I love Roddy Piper. Roddy Piper, to me, is one of the worst wrestlers that was one of the best wrestlers. Because he really wasn't a great wrestler. If you look at Roddy's matches, a lot of them are just brawling, right? A lot of punches, a lot of like grappling, pokes in the eye, sleeper holds. Roddy wasn't your Greco-Roman wrestler or high spot wrestler, but he played his character perfectly. Whether he was a face, whether he was a heel, he was amazing on the mic. Everything about Roddy Piper beyond what he did in the ring was perfect. And because he was so strong outside of the ring, we believed whatever he was doing in the ring was good enough to be Roddy Piper, to be a superstar. So that's what I took away from one, was it was the beginning of Roddy Piper really coming into how big and amazing he was. He came out to a full freaking bagpipe line. I mean, that was cool in itself. And I mean, they redid that. Here we go, recycling stuff again with Drew McIntyre at one of the pay-per-views, and it worked again. I mean, that I think is a great bit, and it continues to work, and it shows that WrestleMania 1 was the beginning of a lot of ideas that continued on to 40 years later.
My big shout out to Roddy Piper is always going to be, he has a handful of horror action type movies that he's been in. One, which a lot of people know, is called They Live, John Carpenter movie. Absolutely incredible. Go watch it. And then the underrated one that is absolutely off the rails, crazy plot. I'm not going to explain it, but you boys can even go look it up if you want to. It's called Hell Comes to Frogtown. That movie is insane. It's ridiculous. It's also wonderful. And, Roddy Piper, apparently he was very, very serious about acting. He really wanted to make it as an actor, so he worked on it a lot, And that was both those movies, 1988. So check them out. Check out They Live. If you've already seen it, watch it again. And if you haven't seen Hell Comes to Frogtown, because I don't think a lot of people have, go watch that movie. Crazy.
Can I find it on Wikipedia?
I'm sure
I
you
was
can.
just looking it up.
Yeah.
That's his new nickname.
I guess we're wrong. I guess you are going to be Nicopedia from now on.
I'll put in my 2 cents about the match that I didn't watch real quick, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
You guys kind of stole my thunder. My big point, for not doing my homework, my big thing was going to be, it's crazy how from WrestleMania 1 to whatever WrestleMania this was, nothing's really changed at all. We kind of focus away from the matches. Like, hey, the matches don't matter. We're just here to give you big names, big spots, when we can. Because a lot of times, WrestleMania, it's supposed to be like the best event of the year. These are supposed to be the best of the best, your biggest matches, Rock versus Stone Cold, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But if you go back and look at WrestleManias time and time again, from WrestleMania 1 to whatever this past WrestleMania was, it just seems to be underwhelming when you look at the card as a whole. Like, it's a lot of them are not very good. Like, you have a good match here and a good match there.
17. WrestleMania 17.
That's my favorite one too. I'll watch that one if we go back. I'll watch the TLC match and the Rock.
No, you're not allowed to be on that episode.
That's fair. Okay, that's fine. That's a fair punishment. But yes, a lot of the WrestleManias, obviously there were some good ones over the past 30 years, but if you look at the majority of them, like a lot of them kind of sucked. And I think
Agree.
just hearing you guys talk about WrestleMania 1 and obviously, reading what the great people at Wikipedia wrote, it was kind of an underwhelming card.
And that's what I'll leave it at. That's my closing statement for today's roundtable.
There you go. I like it. What do you guys think? Any closing thoughts about Hulk Hogan and Mr. T versus Paul Orndorff and Roddy Piper?
Mr. T probably could have been a full-time wrestler if he wanted to.
I agree.
He made too much money outside of wrestling to really care to
Yeah.
be in.
But it'd be interesting if you put Mr. T into the Attitude Era and put him at his age at WrestleMania 1, but in the Attitude Era. Could Mr. T have been that superstar like The Rock? Would we have seen Mr. T form into a movie star and one of the top wrestlers in WWE?
I think you would have. He had the ability about himself and the charisma to do that. He is a walking character. He is Mr. T.
It'd just be interesting going back. I don't remember how good he was in that match, and he really did. He looked. We talk about celebrity matches where these guys come in and they're not great. He came in and just did a great job.
Agree.
Great. He actually did some wrestling moves, whereas with the celebrities, generally you get them may do a couple of chops in the corner, a couple of punches, but not at the level that he was doing.
Yeah.
Cool. And I think my final note that I would like to say about the last match and Hulk Hogan in particular, and we say this a lot if you've listened to us a lot, it's that other than that menu that I was just talking about, pretty much dislike everything Hulk Hogan except for that damn theme song. It might be the best damn wrestling theme song in all of professional wrestling. There's wrestling themes that I really enjoy, and a lot of times it's because they're tied to wrestlers I really like. This is a theme song that is tied to a wrestler I do not like, and I still think it's the best. It's so great to hear it. It's such a good, I'm gonna pop like crazy to this theme song.
If you don't have goosebumps and your hair doesn't stand on your arms when that music comes on, you're not a wrestling fan. You just obviously don't like wrestling, because that's the one song I think that every single wrestling fan has no power over. That song controls all of our emotions. We can't control ourselves. There's just something about it.
There's a couple, right? I think it's like that one. Whenever you hear the Rock's theme actually go, if you smell, people just go nuts. If you hear the Steve Austin glass break, it's just you just go absolutely crazy. All that stuff.
Or if you hear the Hurricane stand back, you might jump up out of your seat.
And scream like a little girl.
No, he grabbed my hand. He grabbed my hand and he started jumping up.
I was very excited. I was very excited.
Whoa.
I had to brace myself. I was bracing myself for impact.
That was pre-Chuck killing a little kid. That was pre-Chuck killing a little kid. Oh, I'm sorry. It wasn't a little kid. It was an of age young man that almost got his head torn off.
Yeah. That's a different podcast story.
Oh, we've told it before.
I don't know what episode it was. Go check.
Yeah, I don't know.
Go back and look.
But so let me at least wrap up this portion of the podcast here, and then I can stop recording, because I am recording this part in particular for YouTube. So again, I think WrestleMania. Let's give it a grade real quick. Let's say 1 out of 1 to 10. Give it a grade for, I don't know. What do you think? What do you think, Christopher? 1 out of 10. This is gonna be a hard grade for me, even when I'm thinking about it.
It's hard to grade because obviously it's the first one we're grading, so I have to take that into account, where I have to leave room on both sides, the lower end and the upper end, obviously. Obviously, it's not going to be over 5. It's going to be below 5 because It wasn't great. It was an unbalanced show. I feel like it got a very slow start. I feel like there was moments of pop, but as a whole wrestling show, that if I had to pay for it, and at the end of paying for it, would I go, man, I got my money's worth? I'd probably put it at about a 4.
Okay, 4 of 10. How about you, Kramer? Or Steven? Go ahead, Steven.
You guys are moving around. You're moving around on me.
Yeah, quality-wise, I'd say a 3 or 4. Star power-wise, I'd give it about a 7 because they had a lot of stars on there. They just didn't use them for anything. But yeah, match quality and everything, yeah, about 3.8.
3.8.
Yeah.
I didn't know we had to go by tenths. Jeez. Got a calculator.
You gotta use the, I don't know the creamy, math yet, so sorry.
It's only distance.
Oh man, we could have totally did that. We could have been like 3 creamy Kramer. I give this one a 4 on the creamy Kramers.
Well, that'll be for the next one that we go over.
We'll figure out the conversion. Yeah.
Get your little graphs, your graphics, and
I'll get an Excel spreadsheet.
How many? There you go.
Pivot table.
Myself. Oh, now you're talking my jam there. I would give it. It's hard because you look back at what you see today and what we've grown up watching, and progressively, the production, the characters, the athletic portion of it, everything has increased. So to any grade that I think I'm going to give it, I don't think I'm going to do it justice. So I'm going to say I'll give it a 5, only because that's like your benchmark, right? So you start and then you know where you have to go. You either go higher or you can go lower. So there's definitely going to be ones that you're going to see, well, they've improved greatly and you're going to be pushing 8, 9, and 10, but then there are going to be some that probably going to suck. So I think a 5 is probably a good benchmark to go for a grade.
Nicopedia. What does Wikipedia say about what this grades on a scale from 1 to 10 cream?
They do have reception and reviews on there, but I will not read those. What I will say is, it was kind of transcendent. It was the first, major wrestling pay-per-view. So there was never really one huge one like that. Before it kind of laid the foundation for future WrestleManias, because we had Muhammad Ali, the 90s had Tyson, the mid-2000s had Floyd Money Mayweather, and then we saw Ronda Rousey. So, it kind of set that standard that WWE tries to bring in the biggest fighter at the time, incorporate them into a major storyline, et cetera, like that. But, like everyone said, the matches were short. They weren't, the best booked, I guess. You had a no finish, you had a count out and stuff like that. So I'm gonna go an even 4, just because I'm sure we'll watch worse. I'm sure I'll suggest worse, but there's obviously much better, and maybe I will watch those.
There have been 36 WrestleManias, and when you compare all of the WrestleManias together, or at least I'm trying to in my brain, I know for a fact that there are WrestleManias worse than this, but not many. It's a 2 out of 10. It's awful. And all this, oh, well, it set the standard for what is to move forward. Well, it's been 36 damn years, and who gives a shit? It sucked. The only thing that was worth anything on that whole pay-per-view was a little bit of Iron Sheik, Nicola Volkov, and then the last match was a little bit off the rail, whatever, a little bit off the rails, and it was entertaining. But past that, nah. Garbage Man City, USA. I would say if you have the opportunity to watch WrestleMania 1 and you want to then listen to this podcast afterwards, yeah, maybe you should do it. If you're just sitting around one day and thinking to yourself, maybe I should watch WrestleMania 1, I would say go take a nap, go learn to cook something, go drink some beer, go throw
leg drop somebody.
Go power bomb somebody into a bush. you know, yeah.
Take 2 hours and go watch one of our podcasts. Dude, you have to promote.
Why do I need to promote internally on the podcast when we're just going to promote the heck out of it and Twitter and stuff like that?
Kick.
Ooh.
Ooh.
A 2 is low, man. A 2 is low.
A 2, you're damn
You're
straight
leaving,
a 2 is low.
You are leaving that
Listen.
much room for another one to be worse. And then what happens?
There is like
Letting my
maybe
3.8 not feel so bad.
there's like maybe 2 WrestleManias. I'd have to double check, but there might be 2 that are worse than WrestleMania.
This isn't just a WrestleMania scale. This is an all pay-per-view scale, Jimmy.
You're right. Okay, so 2 was the right answer because there's been lots of pay-per-views, and there's lots of them that are better than WrestleMania 1.
Can we use negative numbers if we get this far? Am I allowed?
All it takes. I mean, maybe we should have done it by 100. Maybe that would have been better to do it by, or maybe we should have just done a letter grade. A letter
Still
grade
a
would be
3.8.
better.
I still think the Kramer
Out of 100,
conversion.
it's a 3.8.
We were doing on 100, weren't we?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. My bad. My Kramer math is off, y'all. Sorry.
Well, let me. Yeah.
I was gonna say the Hulk Hogan theme song, Real American. That's pretty much 3 out of the 4 points I gave it, and the other 1 point is pretty much Roddy Piper being Roddy Piper. Beyond that, I don't know that I go back and go, oh man, I want to go watch this on YouTube, which is this short portion of WrestleMania 1. You know, the 24-second, 9-second Bundy match. No, I mean, it's like, if I look through this, there really isn't much for me to get excited about.
Yeah.
Big John Studd was on it.
And did nothing. He got kicked in the leg and body slammed.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so that's pretty much our time for the podcast portion of this. I'm going to go ahead and kind of sign off here. I will say this: next week, again, we're going to rotate to more current wrestling, and then the week after that, the homework that I have for everybody in this podcast. Again, 2004, No Way Out. Thank you for the suggestion, Chaz. We'll be throwing out later on, as we move further down the line, what you guys want us to watch and what we can talk about. And I'll probably do that for next week's too, just in regards to standard current wrestling stuff. I like to open up and talk about the questions that you guys have. So make sure you hit the likes, hit the follows, subscribe.
One question.
What's up?
With us watching retro shows, does it have to be WWE shows or WWF shows?
No, it's just suggestions. So if somebody wants you to watch ECW, WCW, absolutely. I think all those things are good, but I'm thinking that we're going to leave the power in the hands of the people. So if the people time in and time out want us to watch WWE, then that's what we're going to do for the time being. And if they want us to watch some Halloween Havocs, maybe they'll hear you say that and be like, yeah, I'm going to help the boss out and we're going to say, watch this. Then that's what we'll do. What we won't do, I guess, moving forward, unless nobody suggests anything, is it's out of our hands at this point. So it's all on you guys. Again, like, subscribe, follow, share with your grandma, share with your uncle, share with the next door neighbor's dog. Share Bald Monkeys. We are the Bald Monkeys Nation. Share monkeying around. Share monkey talks. Go to our YouTube site and just get lost in content, because we've already at this point done over a year of content, and we only have started to pump out more and more and more and more content. So we appreciate you guys
whether
watching.
you like it or not.
Well, sometimes I don't like it. Sometimes I'm tired. Sometimes I don't like to talk about wrestling. Sometimes I want to talk about horror movies. Sometimes I want to talk about drinking. Sometimes I want to talk about metal. Chuck, when are we going to talk about some metal?
Chuck's not here.
You're included. You're included too, Kramer.
Doesn't count. Chuck doesn't count.
Chris probably isn't included. Nick probably isn't included. Steven probably isn't included, because I don't think they're real metalheads by any stretch of the imagination. Chuck says whenever you want to. Let's do it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Remember, we are not sponsored by Oreos, but single stuff Oreos are the superior Oreo. And
Double all the way.
I want you to take that to the bank, and we will see you next week for those watching the video. Cool. All done with that part. Dude, Slammiversary was killer. It really was good.
It's really good.
The only thing that was like really bad was like the women's gauntlet match, which really wasn't a gauntlet match. It was more like a Royal Rumble match, and then they had the championship match, which they didn't say was an elimination match, but was actually an elimination match.
Yeah, that was the weirdest. Like, it just randomly started to be an elimination match as soon as Eric Young pinned Trey in that badass transition into a pile driver. Whew. I don't know if you guys.
Dude,
can we go back and watch it? Are we able to go back and watch it on Fight TV?
Yeah, absolutely.
I would recommend, if you guys have time, to go back and watch that. Jimmy will set you up with that, but I think it is the best pay-per-view of the year. From top to bottom, it was entertaining. It had a little bit of everything. It had fast matches. It had slow matches. It had a good women's match that started out a little bit sloppy and got better. The gauntlet match for the women, I think, could have been done better, but ultimately it was okay. It was a good pay-per-view.
We'll see what
guys,
surprises.
You guys ready for Extreme Rules?
Eye for an eye. How many cinematic things are they going to do tonight? Because you got the swamp match.
That'll be cinematic.
You got the eye for the eye.
Is that Seth Rollins' match with Rey Mysterio?
Yeah. Someone is legitimately losing an eye. That's how you win the match. You have to take the other person's eye from them.
It'll be another cage, no contest match.
Oh.
God, WWE is the worst, aren't they? They're just the fucking worst nowadays. It's so bad. It's like the younger nostalgic part of my soul, like, it hurts every single time I say that, but they just pretty much suck right now. But you know what equally sucks? The AEW fan base that thinks that AEW is the only thing that's worth a damn in the world. They're equally as bad. There's a whole lot of great wrestling on, and that's the thing, right? Like, as much as I dislike WWE right now, how annoying they are, they still catch a good match every now and again. Like, what are the chances that one of the things tonight is good? I would say it's pretty good. A full pay-per-view, at least one thing's going to be good.
Tag match. The tag tables match.
I mean, it's not like it's WrestleMania 1 or something like that. Nakamura. Well, that doesn't matter anymore. You're not a Nakamura fan. You're a Wikipedia fan.
You're Nicopedia.
I will watch the next one. Okay.
You walked away, and he's like, "Is this my permanent name now?" And we're like, "No." And then he fucking did it again, and I'm like, "Well, I guess you ruined that."
Okay. I've been called worse.
You went to the well too many times.
You know, it's an informative website when you don't do your homework. I will watch No Way Out 2004 because I've watched that one before, and I will enjoy that. I don't think I would have enjoyed watching WrestleMania 1. I probably would have turned it off anyway.
Well, I think that's the good part too of getting people to suggest things, because they're not going to suggest crappy things. They're going to suggest things they enjoy.
Maybe
right?
they will, but it could be like hilariously crappy. WrestleMania 1 was like a serious attempt, and it was still not the best.
I'd go back to like some of those TNA pay-per-views where Jeff Hardy was like drugged out or something, or like
when he was the Willow.
Yeah.
The Willow Jeff Hardy. You know, TNA had a good little run.
Well, TNA, do you remember the one time, and it might have been a Slammiversary where Jeff Jarrett won the title, and you were talking about people throwing shit? Like, people were throwing shit like Jeff Jarrett had done such a good job of making him like a bad guy that they were throwing.
That was when he was hitting women with guitars, right?
Yeah.
I love that guitar. So awesome.
But he was only hitting women with guitars.
I think that
you can't do that today.
I think that you should, though. I think you should do that. You know why? Because it's almost like you can run entertainment because it's all fake, right? You can run entertainment, and you should run entertainment.
He's like,
He didn't want to say hey to y'all.
Put it down. I'm not gonna say hi to that Nicopedia-looking Mo.
I literally woke up and did this, so I did my best. I set my alarms. I made it just in time. It was a show
You
and go.
came in late.
Well,
I worked third shift, man. A little respect, all right? That's my sleeping time.
I agree, Chuck. You can hit women with guitars today. And again, you should push the
don't tell.
limits.
Whoa, I was gonna say, don't tell Chuck to hit people with guitars. He'll do it.
In wrestling, you should push the limits of what people would say is not acceptable in real life because it's fake, because it's entertainment, because it makes you hate somebody. If you run a storyline, and then I'm going to the extreme here, but if you run a storyline where a man is being slightly abusive to his counterpart woman or something like that in wrestling, it's going to catch a whole lot of heat. And initially, everybody's going to complain, and they're going to say, why are you showing this? Why are you showing that? Yada, yada, yada. But it's going to work. It will work. What's up, Nick?
I was going through a phase where I watched a lot of old Raws and SmackDowns from like just after the Attitude Era, the Ruthless Aggression Era, after that little series came out, and they kind of tried that with the Kane and Lita thing, and then the Vince Stephanie McMahon thing. Jimmy, it does not age well. It is so cringeworthy. It is really tough. There's a match at No Mercy with Vince and Stephanie. It is atrocious. That is one of the worst matches ever. And then the Kane and Lita wedding on Raw, where like she's pregnant and wearing the black dress. I can see why my mom used to put child blocks on the TV, because this is terrible. It is terrible stuff.
I don't know, man. I liked some of the crazy out there stuff that they used to do, man. I just think it's cool, and I like when they build characters like if we're going to be so overly PC about stuff, this is why this makes sense, right? Because if we're going to be so overly PC and so protective of so many groups in this country, why wouldn't you create characters that were just totally racist or prejudiced against those groups? Because that's the cheap heat. That's how you get the cheap heat. We watch a television show and there's a racist character. We don't think that actor's actually racist. We just go, man, I really don't like that character. We watch Game of Thrones and we say, man, that one character's really ruthless. He's not actually, but we don't think he's actually that ruthless in real life. We think he's that ruthless in the show. What about wrestling?
Can't distinguish reality from fiction.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to say to those people. They shouldn't watch any TV ever, because that must be a crazy life to live where everything's real. Yes, SpongeBob is real. He's an animated person that really lives in the bottom of the ocean.
He is real. Still real to me, damn it.
See, there you go.
All right, I'm gonna go watch No Way Out and take some notes, so I'm prepared for 2 weeks. I'm gonna get a jump start on this next homework assignment. So.
Well, that's a good one. Again, that's a fun one to watch. So
I want to watch that one.
That'll be fun.
How about Great Balls of Fire 2017?
You know what? It wasn't that bad.
It was a good
Great
show.
Balls of Fire. I thought that was one of the best matches. Like the Brock Lesnar Samoa Joe match was
so
really good. Other than
one.
the fact that Joe should have won it. Yeah. I remember. You remember how much we just like railed against that pay-per-view because of the name, and then it like actually ended up being halfway decent. It was like,
That was a good. I stand by that. That's a 7.5, 8. That was a good one.
7.5. Oh, 8 out of 10. Well, I don't
I
know
need to
about
see the
that
rest
much.
of the card on that show to give that have a rating.
I'm
Joe,
gonna create a fake Twitter account, and I'm gonna suggest to the Ball Monkeys podcast, and you guys are gonna have to watch it. That's what I'm gonna do. So there you go. If you see some random Twitter account with a bunch of numbers, that's me suggesting us to watch Balls of Fire.
We couldn't get you to do your homework, but you're going to put all that effort in to just make a fake Twitter account.
Going over the top now, all right? I feel guilty. I stuck it out. I used my resources. I had my work phone with Wikipedia. I did the best I could, all right?
You're going to get a phone call. Nick, unfortunately, we see that you've been searching Wikipedia too much on your phone for work. If you don't know what you're doing, you're just not good enough.
Are we watching Extreme Rules tonight, or are people doing their own thing?
Probably doing our own thing.
Well, I wasn't asking you, Nick. You're never here for anything.
Okay.
Why would I have been asking that
You know
question?
what? My self-esteem's had enough for today. I'm out. Have a great rest of your Sundays. I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Hey, by the way, congratulations.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Congratulations again, man.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Look forward to 2 weeks. I'm going to do some very good homework on No Way Out. It's going to be top to bottom, 3 pages of notes. You're going to be very proud of me, guys.
Oh, and this might be construed as a threat, and it very much is a threat.
There's going to be people left off the
There's
wedding.
going to be a bald monkey's table at this fucking wedding.
Yeah,
So just deal with it.
You're going to be severely disappointed, and I'm ready for the slander I take afterwards. But just brace yourself.
He can't afford it. He's already talking to me about guest lists.
I got a lot of. There's a lot of Tiros. She's got a lot.
How much would it cost to buy a table?
It's not an auction, man. I don't know. It's just like
fucking. How is it not an auction?
Everybody has a price.
To buy a fucking table? Are you kidding me?
If we buy a table, we're gonna sell merch, right?
Yes.
Like that.
Hell
yes.
yeah.
Like that.
Oh look. Check this out.
Sorry,
we got merch right here. Look, I got merch. Want a shirt?
Yeah, a merch table at my wedding. Perfect. That's a great way to start the marriage.
You can sell this. I got smaller shirts under here.
Instead of throwing the garter belt, you're gonna throw a championship belt, right?
Spoilers. When we do like the reception walkout, I'm already working on having the DX theme song playing, the Are You Ready? And then I want to buy some tag team belts. It's not going over well. She's
and
not
none
on
of
board
us,
with the idea.
and none of us are allowed to go to the wedding spectacle of the year.
There'll be a video for there. You'll get to see.
Oh
it.
my god, I hate
I'll
you.
be there. I'll be there.
But,
we all hate you so much. I know you'll be taking the fucking video, Chris. We get it.
But
no,
to be honest,
I'm gonna take +1, +2, +3.
Well, if we're doing that, a bunch of kids I used to coach all want to come to it too. So I can't keep giving this like +10 thing like I gave to Huggy.
Who the fuck cares about kids you used to coach?
They got rich parents, man. I'm looking at the wedding gifts. Come on.
All right,
you got priorities, man.
I want that fine cutlery, man. Come on.
Fine cutlery.
You're not gonna buy the nice stuff.
What do you normally eat with your fine cutlery that you need?
Well, right now I use paper plates and eat taquitos, but that's different. I haven't officially been down the aisle yet. Once I'm down the aisle, I'll start using normal plates like an adult.
For your taquitos.
Do you or her actually know how to cook?
She's a great cook, and I'm a terrible cook. It balances out. She's gonna do the cooking and everything, and I'll do the yard work. We're gonna have the nicest lawn in whichever state we eventually move to. I'm gonna be living at Home Depot.
He's already got a house. He's not even living with her yet. He's already got a house.
That'll be North Kakalaki, right?
That's what, if Beth has her way, I will be in Charlotte at some point in the next 12 to 18 months. She's already started the pitch, but unfortunately, Terry and Mason don't love me very much. So
why don't they love you?
I don't know. I never get responses when I apply for jobs.
No, that's Mason. Terry might not like you because you're not. Well, I don't know. Yeah.
What are you talking about?
I don't know. I mean, I know Terry pretty well. I would say he doesn't like you because he doesn't know you. You just got to meet him. And Mason is just like that. So, just don't say the company name while we're on Twitch.
Never would I ever dream of such a blasphemous idea. So.
Yeah.
All right, you guys enjoy your little round table talk. I'm going to watch No Way Out 2004.
All right, later, bud.
Later.
I have to run Anson to Haley's aunt's or some god awful something. I don't know. She's been texting me, and her aunt wants to see Anson, so I'm gonna drop him off for a little while. Apparently, she's doing a wedding video.
I'm frozen.
No, you're not.
No, you're not.
It's weird. Your face looks almost like your thumb when you sit like that.
That's more.
What?
Well, this. Well, we finished the recording and it just all went downhill from there. Downhill from WrestleMania 1.
We held it together as long as we could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was nice to have the old school "we can't finish and sign off" ending like we normally do.
It's been a while since we've had one of those, right?
Yeah.
Listen. When Big Baby, but here's the thing, right? The one thing that I've heard from all the regulars, because we heard it last night from Chaz, is they're all like, everybody's like, well, you know, I mean, the interviews are okay and they're good and all, but I just miss like the, you know, everything's so positive. Like Chaz literally said, everything's so positive and it's just uplifting. And I just want Big Baby Jimmy to just like pull my soul back into the negative stuff. I'm like, that's what I'm here for.
That's what you do.
I cannot say for I am the farthest from affiliated with Wrestle Joy because I'm not always bringing joy to the masses. I like to complain about stuff.
I like to complain about everything.
Fuck yeah, I do. It's fun.
You're like
I do it too.
teenage
Chris
girl
does it too.
sometimes.
Chris and Chuck, I guarantee you, I'm just gonna speak for them. They miss complaining about more stuff on podcasts and stuff like that. Especially Chuck. Because if there is one person that brings the passion as much as me when we go off on a tangent, it is Chuck. And I have not heard Chuck go on one of those crazy tangents in far too long. And we need to figure that out. No comment is a comment. That doesn't make any sense. You know I'm
Just need to have a hot takes. We need to have a hot takes episode where we all just go on a rant about something different.
Oh, hot takes episode. Ooh.
That'd be a long one.
Again, I love Captain Chuckle hot takes. They're always really fun. Especially when they like jack with like the Viking Raiders too much, and then he just goes on these like.
That's what they consistently seem to be doing, jacking with the Viking Raiders.
Well, I mean, tag team wrestling isn't actually important
thing anymore, right? Yeah.
It's important everywhere else.
It was important last night. I saw one of the best tag team matches of the year last night with the Motor City Machine Guns taking on the Rascals. That was one of the greatest tag team matches I've seen all year.
I'm actually excited for the North versus Gallows and Anderson and the North versus Motor City Machine Guns. Like, there's some good stuff that's going to happen now. A couple weeks talking, who is really going to be a threat to the North? And they answered the question.
All these tag teams.
All of them.
Yeah, are coming up now. So, yeah.
And they're going to put Heath Slater and Rhino back together, so that's another tag team you can use. I mean, they're not the best, but Heath Slater looked good. He's in probably the best shape of his life. So
Did he hit like a zigzag on that one guy?
he did.
Is that a finisher?
And don't sleep on Rohit. Rohit is if he gets a tag team partner, Rohit's no joke. Rohit can wrestle. He's another guy that's on the cusp.
It's gonna be interesting to see what they do. But okay, I gotta go. Y'all have fun. Do whatever more talking or whatever Chris is doing.
4 minutes of heat. Tag teams, man. 4 minutes of
Who knows
heat.
how much longer we'll last here. See you later, the boss.
It's been fun, y'all.
Later, the boss. Everybody say goodbye to the boss. Chuck, say goodbye to the boss.
Bye.
The boss is out.
Chuck didn't say bye. He's a little late. Maybe it's a lag. I think it's a lag. Botch! Chuck says
Enable
botch.
HD. Botch City. Botchamania.
Botch City. Do love my Zicky emotes. If you're not on Twitch and you don't subscribe to Zicky Dice, he's got some pretty cool emotes. That's what you're seeing right there that Chuck's got in the chat right there. The botch emote, the outlandish emote.
Is he subscribed?
We're subscribed to Zicky Dice.
Wow.
Yeah, we got gifted subscriptions.
Oh. Do you guys have Amazon Prime?
We do have Amazon Prime, which if you have Amazon Prime, you can subscribe for free.
Yeah. So if you get to the end and you still want to support Zicky, then you can throw an Amazon Prime subscription at him.
Yeah, so. I think I'll definitely at least do that, but that's the very least I'll do. I think I would gladly spend the $5 to subscribe for a month. I think it's worth it. I think it's better than Patreon, to be honest, because Patreon is very similar. You spend $1 or $5 a month, and you don't nearly get the quality of content that you get from Twitch when you get a streamer that's constantly streaming. I mean, Zicky was on earlier today, just playing video games and chatting.
So what is the plan for this Twitch channel that we're talking on right now, minus us recording roundtables on it or whatever?
I think we just kind of let it organically.
Well, I mean, I guess but my organic question for you is, do you plan on playing video game? I mean, Twitch started out as a service where you play video games, right?
Yep.
Do you plan on playing some video games?
I have purchased Retromania's retro
multiplayer. Is that multiplayer?
I believe it is. So
I'm gonna get it too. I'm gonna kick your ass.
Oh, you're going down. So Retromania is the official sequel to Wrestling Superstars. So it is awesome. They already got a bunch of graphics. They put a bunch of indie wrestlers in it, which is really cool.
I'm gonna beat you with Eli Drake.
I'm gonna beat you with Warhorse.
No, you're not. Blasphemy.
So I already have that game. So at the very least, when that game is officially released, I will play that on Steam, and I will put that on our stream, on this stream. Chris Bay is also going to be in the DLC, because the first DLC is free when you buy that game. They're going to give you the first downloadable characters for free. So that's kind of cool. I don't know what else to play. I play Brawlhalla sometimes because it's an easy free game to play. It reminds me of kind of like Smash Brothers or something.
Yeah.
If I could play more retro games on it, I definitely would. I would just love to play retro games multiplayer. Like, I would love to play Kramer in like old NHL hockey games. I would love to play Chuck in old Madden games and crush him with Mark Brunell and Keenan McCardle.
Yeah, but the only issue with that, to a certain extent, is that all three of you are old, and you'd be looking for old people to watch you old fogies play your old games.
Dude, what is with you saying old? Retro. It's not old. It's called retro. It's even a category on the freaking Twitch, man. Retro. It's not called old. Retro is cool.
Retro means old.
I don't care.
It means trendy old, but it's still old.
It's trendy.
I don't know. I mean, no, it should be interesting. It's like, I don't know what would be worth playing. I might be able to set aside like a night, so we kind of create some schedule on here.
Yeah.
And maybe I set up a night, like let's say like Friday nights or something like that, where from the hours of, let's say, 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. I throw on a hoodie, throw on a headset, cover myself up, and play horror games and scare the absolute piss out of myself over and over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, the goal of this channel specifically is to change the name to the Bald Monkeys, and then allow any one of us to stream on it if we want to. I can make different moderators, so that's the other reason why we talked earlier. I would like a second account so that I can be a moderator if needed, because if we do end up with multiple people in here, it's important that if you don't want to have to constantly be staring at the chat, someone's in there helping you, with the chat and what's going on. So, if you get 20, 30, 40 people watching you, it's hard to keep up with the chat if you're scaring the crap out of yourself playing a horror game.
Sure.
So we could do that. I'd like to play the Jackbox games. I have no idea how to play them. They look like a lot of fun. It'd be cool to do that for, drink on the stream and hang out and play a Jackbox game.
So I own all of them. The way that it works is I would stream the me playing those games, and then all of you guys, all you need is a phone or a computer.
Is it an app? Or a website?
It's a website. The jackbox.tv, and then when you start a game up, it's pretty basic interface.
We should start there. I think us playing Jackbox games, like I think that's a good start for us to just kind of hang out and, hey, we're not going to podcast Saturday night. We're going to play a game. Bring a drink, hang out. We'll be on video chat. I'll just put this up, and I could probably figure out a way to, yeah, I can figure it out. I can make this smaller and put the Jackbox game bigger in the background.
Well, I guess your next challenge is, or I guess it's all of our challenges, is to figure out how to get more people to watch you on Twitch.
We'll get there. It's just like YouTube. It's a slow. I think Twitch is actually faster than YouTube, but it's a marathon, man. I mean, we're at 108 subscribers on YouTube now, which, if you think about it, where we started, that's a ton of people. 108 people get a notification when we post something on YouTube. To me, that's just huge, because it used to be just us talking to ourselves.
Yeah, we were sitting at like 28 for a really, really long time.
Yeah. I think we should all focus on our Twitter accounts and focus on getting as many followers as we can at Twitter. Kramer, I don't think it's a bad idea for you to, if you don't mind, changing your Twitter handle to TBM Creamy Kramer, and then just rolling with that, and then trying to get followers. Chuck is going to be pissed at me when he gets back. He's gone for a second, because now he's going to have to change the handles on stuff. I think Nick should get same thing. Nick should have a handle too. And then Jimmy, you just keep rolling with the Bald Monkeys handle, because you have so many followers on it.
Man. I'm trying. I'm almost at 4K.
It's awesome. It's great. I think there's going to be a moment where everything gets bigger, and it's going to be good. But I think, yeah, playing Jackpot games on here, talking about different pay-per-views. I think the No Way Out pay-per-view will be more fun than WrestleMania 1. I don't think WrestleMania 1 was a bad one to go back and watch as a first thing, but I think it proved that we need to go find pay-per-views that were entertaining and had big moments to talk about, which WrestleMania 1 had a couple of big moments. It was the first one, but
I like iconic things. I think iconic things are worth watching, and like that's why I would actually hope, like the theory being that everybody would always suggest things that were really, really, really good. I think that inevitably somebody's going to suggest something because it's so iconically bad.
Like Bash at the Beach. There was a couple of bad Bashes at the Beach. I remember that. There's a couple bad TNA Lockdown. Was Lockdown what they used to call one of them?
Yeah, it was the one where every match was a cage match or whatever.
Yeah. Now, I do love the X Division and how they had the X Division matches start to transform into that. Like, think about all the crazy X Division matches we can go back and watch, where they had it hanging above the thing. That, to me, would be fun.
Yeah, like I said, TNA was good, and then it got bad, and then it got good again, and then it kind of nearly fell apart and became Impact, and then it got kind of good, and then they lost all their people, and now we're here, and they've pulled in a bunch of other people. Yeah. So it's definitely worth watching, that's for sure, and it's definitely worth talking about. Like when we do the current content roundtable, I'm just not sure if there's stuff that I purposely want to keep out. You know, is it worth me talking about main card, or should I just talk about the content that the wrestling fan base that I get along with really well likes? So what I mean by that is, instead of watching main card WWE, do I focus on NXT plus AEW plus Impact? Like, is that, you know, a good trio of stuff to talk about? Is that too much content? Is my play to a certain degree just to focus on Impact because it's where there's a lot more growth and there's a lot more you could get a following because people aren't really watching it because I know of a million different AEW podcasts. I know of a million different WWE podcasts. I cannot name an Impact podcast.
No.
Not one that I can think of. I can think of ones that I'm following or that are following me that call themselves an Impact podcast, but I do not know any of them that are actually like worth their weight.
We've gone back and forth about focusing on a specific type or promotion, but it's tough, man. It's like I just want more people to watch Impact right now because I think it's worth watching. I also want more people to watch independent wrestling because I think it's worth watching. Some of this GCW stuff that's recently come out, I'm late to the party on GCW. They've been great. And Synergy, I think Synergy's got a real chance to replicate what GCW's done. So I'm excited for Synergy coming up too. And Action Wrestling, which, we have a connection with Matt Griffin, and I'm excited to go to a live show in Georgia where, we know the promoter and owner, and I think they know what they're doing too, because if you go back and look at some of the Action Wrestling matches and shows they've done, they've got a lot of guys that are big right now on the independent circuit. Sure. So it'll be interesting to see. Again, I keep going back to the word organically. I think all of this will just happen organically. The interviews happened organically. The roundtable discussions will turn into whatever they turn into. I think we just ride whatever direction the wave takes us, and if we don't like the direction it's going, we get off the wave and jump on the next one. Whatever happens. The Twitch thing and how to grow the Twitch channel, it's really supporting other Twitch channels, making friends in other Twitch rooms, following other people, making just connections and talking in the chat room with other Twitch streams. Kramer, if you don't have a Twitch login, make a Twitch login and go check out Young Gun. Young Gun plays Rocksmith when he streams, and he plays for like 6 hours. And Rocksmith is a Guitar Hero, but a real guitar. Okay. And he takes requests, and he loves like heavier stuff too. And you sit there and you interact with the people in the room. Young Gun's a really like laid back guy. You get to guess what percentage he might get in the game. But you could just put it on the background instead of playing the radio or instead of playing music. You just play his Twitch in the background, and I've been doing that day to day when he streams, and just listening to him play Rocksmith and interacting every once in a while in the chat room. So stuff like that, like I think, is a good way to grow the connections we have in Twitch, which will then translate into some people stopping by. Zicky Dice is a good, example of that. If I look at our follower list, World's Greatest Mogul is one of our followers. Mogul Mondays is what Zicky Dice does, and he lets Mogul go head to head with a wrestler. He's going head to head tomorrow with Peter Avalon in basically a promo off, back and forth. Mogul has about 20 followers on Twitter. He wears a bathrobe and tinted glasses. He is interesting, to say the least. But
sounds interesting.
He's gone up against Sienna. He's gone up against Sledge. And again, we got an interview with Sledge because we interacted in that chat room with Zicky. Vape Ross Vape, Val Pancakes, Newfie, 420. All three of those are Zicky followers and subscribers. So the only reason they're following me right now is because I was in the room and Zicky said, yeah, Christopher supports me, go support him. And even Zicky said that if he's ever on and he's able to raid us or pop in, he'll pop in. And I believe that he will. So I think he's like up here when you say about talking and making relationships. We need to go grab like the middle level people. Young Gun's probably closer. He gets like 100 people every time he's doing it, but there's a lot of people in there you could talk to. So, and I want to get back into video games too. I've been trying to that. I've been talking to you about that, James. Like, I want to get back into video games. I just don't know what to play.
Play Shovel Knight.
Shovel Knight. All right.
I told you to play Shovel Knight before.
Where do I get that? Where do I get Shovel Knight?
You can get it on Steam.
Okay. Shovel Knight.
So is that where all the games are, where that people stream, or from Steam, or are they playing consoles?
You could technically, I think,
Xbox,
set it up to do like Xbox Live stuff, and you don't have to run that stuff necessarily on an Xbox per se. But yeah, I mean, you can set up any amount really. You can make it work. I mean, I think some of the way that some people play some of these retro games is like some of these retro games aren't easily. they're not naturally on the computer, but maybe they run it through like emulators and stuff like that on the computer.
Yeah.
So, which emulation is fine. I think the rules with emulation, as long as I've lived, is always like, let's say you own a cartridge of like old school Mario or something like that. It is then more than legal for you to play on an emulator old school Mario as long as you own a physical copy of it.
Yeah.
For instance, now the legality of streaming that, I don't think it changes much. I mean, people stream all types of stuff all the time when it comes to video games, but
Yeah,
you know.
I'm pretty certain that's accurate with the way you described it, because that's how I've heard of it. You know, that you, as long as you own a copy at one point, you can get the emulator version. So, I mean, that would be one way to go, because I definitely have those on my laptop.
SuperMarioBrothers.com, old school. Yep.
I'm pretty certain I have that in the basement too. But yeah, I'm with Chris. I'd be interested to give it a go. And nice.
Wrestlemania arcade game.
Yeah, that's a fun one.
You have too many games.
You have no idea.
Yeah, it's so
I
much
know.
worse than that.
I'm sure.
You have no idea what's just over there off camera. You have no
Yeah, I know.
idea.
My Steam library probably puts your game collection to shame, though.
But those games probably cost me a lot less than your Steam games.
I don't know about that. It depends. Some of the games you get on like heavy duty, like on Steam, you get on like heavy duty discount. I bought a bunch of them for like $1. They were really cheap. I own 867 games on Steam, and that's just on Steam.
I don't want to count.
But it's like, well, yeah, I don't have to. My computer does the counting for me.
I have Game Boy games, PS2 games, PS1 games, Genesis games, Sega CD games, Nintendo games, Super Nintendo games, Atari games, and Nintendo 64 games, which you gave me.
How about this? Let's think about, and I'm not saying that we need to sit by this or anything, because you just do what you want to do when you want to do it. But we can maybe try to make a tentative time where we separate out time where we might want to do something like this on the stream if we're looking to play a certain type of content and not clash with anybody else. Like, be like, well, I wanted to do Friday night. Well, I wanted to do Friday night, and at least have a tentative schedule that doesn't mean that when you get to that point in the schedule that you got to play something every week. You do it as you want to do it. But I would be more than willing to, again, late at night, play some horror games and, make a fool out of myself.
Good, because I won't.
It's fine. It's fine. I own so many horror games. It's crazy.
No, I think it'll be fun. And like I said, I like the idea of us maybe having like a Jackbox night. And then
sure.
And then as far as the schedule goes, I think there's some strategic ways we can put a good schedule together. That goes back to my networking with other streamers and knowing when they're online and making sure that we're online past when they get offline. Rating is a real thing. That is a real way to grow your stream.
Well, rating, yeah, it's hosting, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I get it. Somebody hosts you, and then all of a sudden, that used to happen all the time with so there's a really popular streamer on Twitch. He's not on Twitch at the moment, but his name is Shroud, and he's like just this really epic like first-person shooter streamer, and he would just have, I don't know, at any given time, unless he was doing something special, like 40 to 80,000 people watching him at any given time. And he would get to the end of his streams, and he would just browse through different streams, and then he would just find somebody that he'd never hosted before, and he would just like host them and tell people to give him love, and all of a sudden that person would get like 20,000 followers, a handful of like free subscribes and stuff like that. I mean, it's just absolutely wild.
Yeah. But we got
entertaining to watch.
We got a long way till that happens, probably.
Oh, yeah, no
But this is a good start. I mean, it's important that we stream for a long period of time. I think we're good at that. This is a good 2.5 hour stream right now. And I think it's just important that we get some of these milestones knocked out early. It's a marathon. Like I said, just like YouTube, it's a marathon. We're on our way to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. We're a tenth of the way there.
Yeah, you don't really get anything for hitting 1,000 though. I don't think.
You monetize. We can monetize.
Oh, yeah. But past that, like the big one's 100,000. You get 100,000, you get a cool little plaque.
You get a plaque. Yep, I got a spot for it up there. When we get 100,000.
You got a spot for it? I had to ask them, be like, can you make like 4 of them or whatever, or 5 of them?
We'll get them made, yeah. And you can go live, Chuck says, too, at 1,000.
Yeah. Well.
Chuck's back. Hey, Chuck.
Welcome back, Chuck.
See, we can talk Chuck.
Another thing for the stream purposes. I have, like, I'm on my laptop right now. This morning, I bought myself a camera for the main desktop to make everything easier for me when I'm at the home.
Second screen too.
I've got 2 monitors already.
2 monitors is a must.
Yeah. But one of the things that because I'm a super nerd, and I play World of Warcraft. Well, World of Warcraft is going to be releasing sometime in the fall, and I still have a week of vacation, and I have every intention of taking the whole week off when that game drops and playing it for a really, really long time. So I can probably stream it the whole time that I'm playing it because it'll be a brand new game.
Yep.
And a lot of people.
100%. That makes sense. Yeah, these like 24-hour streams that people do and stuff, those are epic.
I'll probably kind
but you need a mod.
Ish.
You need somebody to moderate stuff like that though too. You know, you need like us to help out by popping in every once in a while and moderating for you.
Yeah.
So.
Which is fine.
Chuck's already a moderator. Kramer, when you sign up, you'll be a moderator.
It'll keep me fresh grinding through that game and be like, somebody ask me a wrestling question right now. Somebody ask me a wrestling question right now. I'm falling asleep.
That'll be good. That'll be fun. I think I like the design. It's pretty simple right now, but I think as we find out how to do this stuff, it'll be interesting to stream different things. We've had a couple of different viewers pop in. I know we're up to 4 viewers right now, so I'll take it. If we can average 5, that's when we start to be able to monetize Twitch. And then if we can monetize it, then, who knows? And we could use that money to go see wrestling shows or do giveaways or, stuff like that. Or buy a round of beers. I don't know. Or
beer.
Get out of the house and do something. Nicola is okay. So this is the problem, and this is for only the 4 viewers and you 2, which one of you is one of the 4 viewers. He's liking and retweeting stuff that I tweeted out like 2.5 hours ago to get people to come into this room and chat with us. That is useless at this point. You either are on top of things or you're not. Like, you do your homework or not.
I see people here, but people here that were more than were here before. My English just like went off the deep end there.
It's a good thing you're a tech.
I mean, there's 4 viewers here.
Yeah.
So I would say maybe it's successful. Who knows?
Well, you do realize, and Twitch, don't listen to this.
You do realize who's asleep too, right?
Who's asleep? Nick?
Nicopedia.
We told him 2 p.m. So you do realize that there is 6 of us, and if we average 5 viewers, we get to that monetized level. And there is 6 of us. So I think we should be able to find some viewers and be able to average that 5.
Maybe. People don't like me though.
Oh, I don't like you.
To be fair, I don't know that I like them either. I just like to argue all the time. Is there anybody in chat that wants to argue with me?
Would anybody like to argue with Big Baby Jimmy? Because it should be.
Pick a wrestling topic. Give me a popular hot take. You know, that I just think is wrong. Although I won't know that it's wrong or not. I mean, you might actually say something that's like a controversial hot take, and I'll be like, "You're totally damn right," and everybody else is wrong.
A controversial hot take that everybody.
You're doing a good job there, Chris.
Will
Nice.
Will Ospreay.
What about Will Ospreay?
Will Ospreay is one of the best in-ring talents today.
I mean, I'm not just going to see, but here's the thing: I'm not just going to argue about something that I 100% agree with. Yes, he is, of course.
Okay. Well, I'm just. That's a universal thought by most people, right?
Yeah. I mean, you could hit a trigger. You could hit a trigger one easier than that. You don't even have to think that hard. Hot take, ladies and gentlemen.
Dude,
Becky Lynch is not good.
It's been 2 hours and 40 minutes. I can't
Becky
think
Lynch
at all.
is not good.
I had to take a pee break.
Who wants to argue?
No way I could sit here for 2 hours and not pee.
Who can
who are you, Chuck?
counter argue me and prove to me that Becky Lynch,
Lecky Bench.
Lecky Bench,
Lecky Bench.
Becky Lynch is
Jimmy's gone.
legitimately a good wrestler. Anybody?
There's nobody here. There's you want to know who the viewers are? Because I've been laughing at this. Another TV viewer, Commander Root, Hot Local Mom, and Lurks. Those are our users right now. Hello to all of you. It says 3, but hello to Hot Local Mom.
That you would do a special shout out to Hot Local Moms.
Hey,
That's
thanks.
Yeah, I mean,
thanks for viewing.
what are other? I mean, see, because some of those hot takes aren't hot takes, like and it's easy for me to attack like WWE stuff because that's the stuff they're just not working it correctly. I don't know if it's quite a hot take to tell people Keith Lee is not working.
Ooh.
I don't care if everybody disagrees with me. He's not working.
I think we save that hot take because I think that is a very good conversation for when there's a good amount of people in the chat, because I think that is a great conversation about Keith Lee, because where he was to where he is, that's a hot topic right there.
Yeah.
I think that's a good one.
Before you guys get into anything else, I'm gonna split. One of Amy's kids came over.
You have
Banana.
homework. You have homework.
I changed my Twitter handle.
Sweet.
Chuck, he changed his Twitter handle. And he downloaded
split.
Twitch. And tonight, Zicky might actually be streaming tonight. If you want to get into Twitch for the first time, Zicky's a good intro. He will shock the crap out of you, and you'll be good to go. So.
Okay.
Zicky's fun. But yeah, we'll hit you up on Twitch. And Chuck knows now that you have a new handle, so we'll make sure to get that going. If you need any help with followers, literally just go to this guy's followers and just start following. How many a day?
Who are you talking about? Me?
Yeah, you.
What do you mean? How many a day?
How many can you do? How many can you do a day?
Oh, 400. You can follow 400 people in one day.
Wow.
So that's your daily limit, and then once you get up to 5,000. It's kind of has to be like kind of a proportional thing. There's like a proportion, and you can't follow more people than are following you. Yeah. That's when it gets tricky, but I doubt you're anywhere close to 5K. So,
I'm going to go check out Kramer's new handle right now. So, all right, man.
Hey, guys.
I'll hit you up on the Twitch. Good job, man.
Everybody.
See you guys.
Yep. Chris, are you watching Extreme Rules tonight?
Well, let's sign off on the stream and we'll discuss that. So, I think it's just Chuck in here anyway. I'm going to try the stream end here, see how it looks. Jimmy, you could tell me on here because I want to see how it looks. It'll play our credits. And haven't decided if I'm going to keep this recording on there, but let's see if I can find it. So, stream. Oh, did I not put it on here yet? We don't have credits yet, so all I'm going to do is hit stream ending.
Later.
Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at The Bald Monkeys. You can also catch our interviews on WrestleJoy.com. Watch any of our other interviews or our roundtable podcasts at YouTube. Just search for The Bald Monkeys. And listen to the Bald Monkeys podcast on Apple iTunes, Podbean, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from.